Good morning, Midnight's Edge fans. We're here to tell you that we have so much more to offer you now at our Mixed Tees store. Not just t-shirts and hoodies, but we do have plenty of those, and new designs for that matter. You can also get mugs, and of course our brand new limited Amber Turds stained blanket. That's right, just for your bed or wherever you need it. So head on over to Mixed Tees now and get all your apparel and goodies from Midnight's Edge.
Get up, wake up, this is your final warning. It's time for Midnight Edge in the morning. The gang is ready to go and it's time for the show. It's time for Midnight Edge in the morning.
I like turtles.
Good morning, everybody. Dropping things already. So how you doing, everybody? Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Midnight's Edge in the morning. Brought to you by my migraine. We have Andre here. How you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Greetings, everyone. Still not sounding like a robot. Let's see how long that lasts.
Domo arigato, Mr. Andre. Domo.
Exactly.
How was that? Is that robotic enough for you?
Yeah.
Or do I need to go full on? Good morning, everybody. Now we sound like robots to everybody.
Oh boy. Optimus.
Hello, Scribelight.
Tom. Yeah.
Hello, Optimus.
Roll out. Tell us all about yourself.
Oh man, now I need an origin story. Well, I come from the planet the Moon, and I live up here with Dogcat Fox. Dogcat Fox is my genetically engineered companion. Wowie, wow, wow. He's
I
sitting
don't have a thing for
beside me right now.
Martians.
Yeah. So anyway, good morning, everybody.
For Krypton. Same difference.
Welcome to Hump Day. Hope everybody's doing well.
Indeed. Well, we're doing our best anyway. We also have Chris Brawley from Bleeding Fool looking an awful lot like Lex Luthor this morning.
That's right. That's right. I hate America. I hate Superman. I hate my own. I've got,
Lex never said he hated America, actually.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, this Lex does.
You know, after you've seen the movie, I kind of expect you to come in cosplaying as Lex Luthor with a suit on and everything.
That
Just a
would be
little
great.
bit.
I'll do this instead. Here we go.
Okay.
Lex has a thing for land.
Yes.
Landman.
Well,
He's a landman.
Man. him versus Lex Luthor versus Billy Bob Thornton.
I
That'd
love
be
it.
great.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Hell, Billy
Always
Bob
had an
Thornton is
affinity
Lex
for
Luthor.
land.
Oh,
Billy Bob Thornton is Lex Luthor. There you go.
I think Billy Bob Thornton would make a better Two-Face or Batman villain. I'm not sure.
Or maybe like, yeah, I don't know who he would do. Not like Metallo or anybody like that, no. But like,
No.
He's getting a little old for that kind of stuff.
I'm sure there's something you could come up with.
Sure.
But anyhow, good morning, everybody. And we're going to get into soups here in just a bit. But let's say hello to our chat, because we got some super chats and member chats to kick things off. Like this one here from Ruby Hoove. How you doing, Ruby? Been a member for 13 months. That's just over a year. Well, congratulations and thank you. We got Grimzilla, who's been a member for 39 freaking months.
Wow.
Says, rest in peace, Julian McMahon. Yeah, that we heard about that the other day. The original Doctor Doom. Can we just admit that the 2000X F4 isn't that bad now? Especially when it comes out. Especially when what comes after has been this terrible.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see how the new one turns out. But yeah, I don't think anybody was really saying it was that bad before Grimzilla.
People didn't find it that exciting, I guess. But I mean, in comparison to some Marvel, I mean, if what I'm hearing, and we'll get into Superman here momentarily, what I'm hearing about Superman and how it harkens back to a Silver Age kind of campy mentality or sentiment, the Fantastic Four movies from back then, save for some plot choices that they made, really felt like a Fantastic Four movie. It was fun. It was harmless. It was family oriented.
Yeah.
I've never really heard anybody go after it too hardcore.
Well,
Like,
the second
even, like,
movie
with the
isn't as
second
strong,
one-
but yeah.
Well, yeah, I even heard some. I didn't care for the second one as much, but you know, the Silver Surfer was cool. You know, at least you hear that. You know, they usually say that at March.
Yeah.
But,
I didn't like Dr. Doom's origin so much, them having to merge that into together.
No, but McMahon wasn't a bad Dr. Doom.
Not at all.
So.
I think Jessica Alba was the weakest thing.
Oh, probably the weakest link. Absolutely. Yeah. But at that point, it really didn't matter. And I still would say she'd possibly pull it off better than any other Sue Storm we've had so far. But
she definitely had that all-American girl next door kind of look that Sue Storm needs. So she did she did well.
Enough, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was fine.
Yeah.
It was fine. It was good enough. I was looking forward to the sequel. And then that happened.
Well, yeah, so rest in peace, sir. It was sad news that we heard the other day. Too bad. Happened so soon. I really hate
a huge
that
loss,
kind of news. Yeah. We had a few this last week that were kind of sad. Then we got Dr. Long Dongler here sending £1.99 with a thumbs up to remind you to pound that thumbs up if you have not already.
Oh, yeah.
And then we've got Coffee Lover, who's been a member for 30 freaking months. Wow. Loving coffee and loving Midnight's Edge, evidently. Alex Kurtzman is an unemployed little bitch. Says, is it bad or is Snyder Bros just butthurt?
Only Tom knows.
Paulie could pop in at any moment too.
Yeah,
it's true. He could.
How should I answer this? Snyder Bros is butthurt.
Yep. That's what I'm hearing.
They're freaking out over the Rotten Tomatoes score like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah.
I remember when the Rotten Tomatoes score for Man of Steel came out. At that time, this space on YouTube wasn't a thing. But you had the IMDb boards on the Internet Movie Database. And following those.
Sure did.
As the reviews came in, and all of the people that were so pumped for the movie, were in complete disbelief at how this thing wasn't getting the praise that The Dark Knight did, because that's what everyone were expecting. Now, I like Man of Steel, I really, really do, but it never got that kind of critical appraisal. So the response among critics is night and day here.
Not just the critics, but the audience too. Because this is one of the few times I see them pretty much in sync. If anything, the audience is going really hard on this. Because the thing,
there's some very mixed reactions. I mean, no one
in our community,
no one is saying that it's woke. So that's a good thing. That's a huge vindication for our reporting right there.
Yeah.
And this is something that I don't know quite where I have James Gunn, but I think we kind of pegged him the right way in our most recent video, which not many people are watching, but still, I think we had it.
I can say this, it's not the least bit woke, really. I mean, I can't think of anything out of it that was woke.
That's exactly what our reviewer said. It's not woke. There's no woke.
Any of this immigration shit they were talking about, none of that's really even brought. It's not even a point in the story.
Right.
It was almost like they made this shit up.
Narrative.
Yeah.
It was pure media narrative.
Yeah. And you kind of called that Monday, Tom.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could see through the bullshit. And then when you had Mark, whatever his name, Macon or whatever the fuck, out there going,
Mark Mackle or whatever his name is.
Meg is out there losing their minds over Superman, which was one fucking story on Fox News, mind you. And even in that story, if you listen to it, you're like, are you this uninformed?
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and everybody's throwing red meat around, right, to their readers and stuff, I guess. But
look, am I saying everybody's going to like it? No. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Andre doesn't like it.
Huh.
There's going to be some people who this is just not going to be their cup of tea.
That would be ironic, though, because I'm such a huge fan of Peacemaker.
Yeah, I think you're right in that. And I think and honestly, no spoilers aside, because you probably figure that there might be something that but there's something about Peacemaker in there that the audience had a reaction to. Let's say it was one of the bigger reactions in the film.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'll get into all that in just a few minutes. Let's get back into super chats here. But as you see here, the tomato meter, 96% on the audience side.
Yeah, that's strong.
That's pretty amazing.
Did somebody have somebody else share it here? Scribe, did you have something?
Oh, I just had one of my jokes about the Malkin guy.
Oh, please bring it up, please.
Yeah,
I saw it earlier.
I have a meme set for this guy.
We'll talk
whenever
about
I see
this
him on the red carpet.
This guy, I tell you, this guy. Is it the gayest thing? It's the gayest thing ever. And this guy is the biggest, gayest stereotype you've ever seen.
He really is. Yeah, it's right out of Central Casting.
Right down to HIV positive, plus. Yeah, I'm not even kidding.
I can't even count how many times I've seen him on the red carpet, like querying people about how gay this show is or this movie is or whatever else. And so I just have this pre-made in case he ever comes up.
It's kind of ironic that he's with Variety because there's no variety to his interviewing style.
That is true too, because he does, and I love how he did that on Superman. Because as much as I hate this gay Muppet, I said to Andre, I said basically, this motherfucker just made our video. He's making our exact point we've been saying this whole time, because he's out there asking each and every member of the cast, how do you feel about MAGA losing their minds? And it's like, where are you getting this shit from?
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Exactly. Where did he get MAGA losing their minds from? Where the hell did he get that from?
Like I said, one Fox News report.
Yep.
Which was a report based on the Variety story that we did our story on, where everybody's running willy-nilly with this thing.
Which
because
came from
the
him,
Time story.
Yeah. Crew. That's pretty amazing. It's an entirely media-driven narrative. So Tom, you're right for calling that.
No, it was beautiful because you basically had play out in real time, right in front of your eyes, exactly what you and I honestly, a lot of this is why I can't believe some of our community was so bamboozled by this. All the things we've been warning you guys about the media for how long, right? You just seen it happen like in complete orchestration. They write a piece, they take something from said piece that was heavily editorialized and edited to begin with, re-edit it, re-editorialize it, put it out there with a headline that nobody ever fucking said in the first place, mix it with shit from 10 fucking years ago, and cause a big stir out of it. And then you have this little fucking Muppet go out there and ask everybody on the red carpet, how do you feel about MAGA losing their minds? And it's all based on this one fucking deal from this one fucking thing that has nothing to do with the fucking movie at all.
Yep.
Really, at the end of the day. Like, yes, are there things in the movie that you could draw parallels to? Absolutely. But a lot of that shit you'd really be grasping for straws because, as we point out in our story, and James Gunn himself pointed out, you do realize this movie was written like 2-3 years ago and shot a year ago. And yeah, maybe there was a few pickups, but there wasn't enough time to change enough shit to make it that fucking, South Park, where they're able to do it in 6 days.
Right.
Like, which is another problem for them, which we may get into later, because I think it was Scribe or Chris brought it up before the show about South Park.
Yeah.
Because, they're all pissed because they got a bunch of episodes done already.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just sitting
usually
there.
very timely.
Exactly. So that's what I'm wondering is how untimely these are going to be now. Right. And I think that's why they're getting pissy.
Oh, I would too, yeah.
But that being said, we need to remind people it takes a long time to put this shit together. Yeah. So anybody going out there saying that it's a commentary on current state of immigration or a comment on things that are going on in the Middle East, no, it's not. And I can even see another few lines that people are going to run with, but we'll get into that maybe on Friday when we get deeper into spoilers. So warning everybody, today we're not going to get too deep into spoilers, I don't think. Maybe later in the show.
I see no reason for that.
Yeah, I don't want to cause anybody to have to leave. So we did a full spoiler.
The audience, myself included, literally don't have any way of seeing the movie as of yet.
Yeah, and honestly, like if you want to see my spoiler review and a few other people who saw it, we did a stream last night. So check it out over on Midnight's Edge After Dark. It's our sister channel. I'm sure one of our awesome mods will share the link in the chat for you guys who want to share that to watch later. But let's finish up these super chats and we'll talk a little bit more Superman. I'm sure there's more questions involving them anyway. Flying Blind on a Rocket Cycle says, had this glow stick show up on my doorstep the other day. Smelled bad. Ran it through the dishwasher a few times and put holy water on it. Anyone interested? Comes with a free bathtub. No. And I've been just traumatized ever since I found out that women actually put them fucking things in the dishwasher. It's like you do realize that your children eat off those plates. I don't care if it is being washed. I mean, throw it in a washing machine or something if you're gonna do that shit. Fuck. What the hell? Anyhow, no, yeah. Put that thing away. Do not bring it back out flying blind on a rocket cycle. Unfortunately, we cannot tell you where it's been. I mean, and your guess is as good as mine. And if it's around Mark, God help you.
Oh, boy.
I'm gonna lick the stick. I'm gonna lick the stick. Then I'm gonna put it in my butt. Put it in my butt. Put it in my butt.
That's what $10 gets you. That's right. Mom's been a member for 8 months. Thank you for that. And oh my gosh, D-Bud.
Wow.
He might be one of our oldest, if not our oldest member at 50 months.
Wow.
Dang.
Gotta
Good
be.
job.
I'm sure there's a few like him, but yeah, we got to do something special maybe for some of these OG members if that's the case.
We do, yeah.
Soul Nightmare says the Snyder cult are already making excuses that every positive review, including the audience, is paid shill. I know, I saw that. They're losing it hardcore right now.
That should be the question. What do you think of the Snyder Bros losing their minds?
There you go. Good job,
the Snyder
Hardy
Bros
Firestein.
going to have a big problem with this movie. Yes.
Did
The Snyder
anybody
Bros
see
are going to
the,
hate this movie.
We talked about the James Gunn and Zack Snyder appearance on Rick and Morty, right?
No, actually, I don't think we had a chance to get to that yet.
Oh,
because,
yeah. I think
that-
I retweeted it Monday. It's great. I
Yeah,
was so
it
impressed
happened.
with those guys.
Yeah, it happened. It was the clip I saw. It looked kind of funny, but
Well,
we'll see how
I'm
this
just
weekend
impressed
plays
that they
out. But
did
yeah,
Yeah, that they did it. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic too, because I mean that's kind of like how you unite the fan bases instead of
Exactly.
sowing more discord and stuff like that. That's kind of like what's needed. I would not be opposed to Zack Snyder actually directing a movie, provided James Gunn wrote it and is there behind him holding his hand every single step of the way
some
and
like-
has final edit.
Yeah. Well, better
yeah, something
yet,
like
you just
Batman or
make
Green
Zack
Arrow would be up
Snyder,
his alley. Yeah,
or you just
sorry.
make
go
Zack
ahead.
Snyder the cinematographer. I mean, he knows how to get shots framed.
Exactly, that's what
what
I
he
mean.
does well.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That would be perfect. That's kind of like how you heal the rift among the fans. Hire Zack Snyder,
Yep.
have him work really
Well-
closely with James Gunn, so you get a sub 2 hour movie or like a less than 2 hour movie
Mhm.
that is really overseen by Gunn, but Snyder holds the camera and brings his visual flair.
Yeah.
Be fantastic. Hell, New Gods.
Could be. Oh, ooh, interesting.
Well, and this question was asked last night, and I think this kind of fits in this category where, you know, is there going to be more tone differences than what we got here with Superman? And I would say, yeah, because even inside Superman itself, which is a really good family film, right? Like you'll be able to take the family to this movie. It's a very, very good family film.
Yeah.
But it also sets up that in this universe, there are other places and other people who do and say other things that are not PG-13,
Mhm.
right? So like that is still a thing. And yeah, somebody like, depending on what, see, here's the thing. I honestly don't know if anything Zack Snyder would fit in this universe. And you'll probably understand that after you see this movie.
Well, what do you think about Pattinson's Batman?
No, not
Okay.
in the fucking least.
Not in the least. Okay.
Not even fucking close. Like if Batman stays in this vein, I'm not saying it's going to be a bad Batman, but it might be the first time we get like this Silver Age Batman on screen.
Yeah.
Well, this is something I was going to ask because, you know, I'm full disclosure, I have not seen the film, and I'm not even a gigantic DC fan. I'm more of a Marvel guy, but one of my curiosities was, you know, Gunn has been known for doing ensemble films and doing fairly good at it.
Mm-hmm.
This was the first sort of big movie recently that he's done that's purportedly like a character-focused film. And so I was curious, one from Tom, just without spoilers, how did he do with that? But my other question was, hearing that, and I don't think this is a spoiler for anything narrative-wise, but that it is set in more of a Silver Age kind of golly gee shucks kind of mentality rather than like the dark Snyder kind of thing.
Yeah,
Do you
like I
guys
said.
think-
Oh, go ahead.
Real
Finish your
quick.
question. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. Do you think that this is the do you think Gunn is meaning to set, if not a regimented, then an overall tone for the entirety of the DCU with this film? Or do you think that different writers and directors are going to be able to make their own deal of each film individually, like you would for different comic book artists or different writers, where it's not all trying to be Marvel regimented. Does that make sense?
I think, yeah, and I think the answer is pretty much what I was saying before, is like the movie does leave room to where there's other places and other people in this universe that are probably R-rated, and they even comment on how Superman is different from other metahumans, right?
Okay.
So in that respect, or other heroes and villains or whatever you want to call it. So in that respect, it leaves the door open for R-rated fare, like Peacemaker, I'm sure is, even though I've only seen like an episode, and I can't speak to Creature Commandos, but I mean, I'm sure the tones can shift. And here's what I was going to say to that, is that basically, like, yeah, no, I don't see somebody like Zack Snyder fitting in this universe per se, but I also see this universe having much broader of a scope than Marvel ever did. Right? Like, because I think you're onto something to where, yes, this is this kind of a tone of a film, but then when we see, like the next Batman or something like that, it's a completely different tone, but it still fits, if that makes sense.
Well,
kind of like how I think Peacemaker probably fits in this, even though it doesn't, in a way. Well,
so far the only properties we've seen in this universe are Creature Commandos, Peacemaker, and now Superman. Do you think that the gun method of writing and snappy dialogue and everything, or do you think we might get like an actual small stakes noir film out of a Batman movie? Or, I mean, you say it leaves the door open.
We'll have to see more when more people when more people take on other projects besides him. We'll have to wait and see on that, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because of his comments previously about how Marvel screwed things up, how much further, how widespread that sentiment might take to other aspects of the Marvel method of trying to keep sort of a consistent sort of tone and humor throughout the deal. I wonder if he'll.
I didn't feel like this was trying to connect to or build up to some bigger thing. So in that respect, it still feels like everything can kind of just exist in its own way.
Okay.
If that makes sense. I mean, without getting into too spoilery, like that's the problem. It's hard to answer this question without getting into some specifics. Because
how did he do on making a character-focused film? Did it feel like an ensemble that was just grudgingly having to be a single character movie, or was it really a Superman movie?
Some people will possibly still say that it's a bit too full, but I think if anything, a lot of the stuff that for the other characters wound up on the cutting room floor, so it could be more focused on Superman. And I understand now why my one guy was telling me, you got to think of the Lantern Corps, or at least some of those guys and all that kind of, or not the Lantern Corps, but the Justice Gang or whatever. Yeah. It's kind of like, almost like cops. And now after seeing the film, I totally understand where he was coming from.
Okay.
Because let's say, without giving away any spoilers, you know how in movies when there's a character who nobody believes and everybody thinks something's up with him, except for there's always that one guy who's like, something don't quite smell right here. He's usually like a cop on the inside or something like that. Even if our main character is a cop, he's the one guy who kind of either trusts the main character or smells something off. And, he's that guy in this movie. So like all these other characters we're seeing, they're treated like I was told mostly for the most part. Like they're just side characters and other characters that are kind of built around the story that you have there in any other normal kind of action story. It's just this one happens to be about metahumans, right? Like if that makes sense. So, I mean, it has, in that respect, it does have a lot of characters in it. Don't get me wrong. And there's some that I'm like, I could tell you nothing about now because they're hardly any screen time.
Right.
But for what it needs to be, I think it's very focused on Superman. So in that respect, yeah, it's a Superman film. But at the same time, there is a lot of gun-isms in this movie that I think some people will be turned off by.
Mm-hmm. Our guy at Bleeding Full thinks it could have probably even been a little bit longer. It moves at such
honestly, it kind of could have. It's a little too fast paced. But
yeah,
Script Doctor's here now. And,
hey,
how you doing?
How can you guys hear me? I'm coming in through another device here. I'm out in downtown.
You sound
Toronto.
Fine, actually.
Okay,
yeah, sound
great.
Perfect.
I sound like you.
I've got a bit of
whatever
time,
device you have, we should get.
Cool. I just wanted to come on because I've been seeing a bunch of the reviews on Superman on the social medias, and I just like to say I feel very vindicated because Tom, you and I, and Andre and so forth, we've been all been saying like there's a greater possibility this be a fun, great movie than it would be a terrible one. And yeah, I just like to say thank you. Thank you so much.
You came to gloat. Yes, sir.
Yeah. What you really meant to say was, yes, nailed it, suckers.
In a way, I mean,
refer to that. Yeah.
Is it perfect? No. And I'll get into some of that too. But I mean, is it different than almost anything we've seen before in a lot of ways? Yes. I mean, especially for fans of this kind of superhero comic, or especially Superman era, right? Because this is, first of all, going into this, you have to kind of shake off anything from before, any previous Superman. And it takes a couple minutes to kind of get used to that, because he's not trying to emulate anything we've seen before,
which is what we've desperately needed. For, I mean, if you're a big Superman fan in television and cartoons, you've already had this habit, because the Dean Cain Superman is nothing like the Christopher Reeve Superman. The Tim Daly Superman in the animated series is nothing like the Dean Cain or Christopher Reeve Superman. But there's enough familiarity that you realize this is still Superman.
And if anything, it probably harkens back more to that 90s series.
Yeah, the animated shows. Yeah,
which is your bridge between Silver and Bronze Age, which is what, when I saw some of the previews of their set design, because I can spoil a little bit things. I've been getting little bits and pieces from friends and colleagues that worked on this movie, and I was like, oh, this is like the true quote unquote golden age of superheroes, where they had very interesting dynamic stories, because they're trying to get sensational plots out there for readers to kind of buy up their inventory, because comic sales were kind of in decline during the late 60s and 70s, and then kind of peaked a little bit mid 70s, and then went down again towards the 80s. And then after the crises and Frank Miller and John Byrne's Man of Steel, kind of went back up again. So it had those peaks and valleys, and the stuff that I was seeing for Superman was all looking like it was trying to find that sweet spot there and emulate that part, which I really got excited for, and I'm super excited for it, because I'm supposed to see it tomorrow morning. We'll see.
Oh, yeah?
We'll see
Cool.
if my duties elsewhere end up coming first. But yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Right. And just to be clear, when I say Gunnisms, guys, I don't mean just the laughs either. Like,
No, but the
Gunn
art.
knows how to pull at your heartstrings.
Yep.
And so keep that in mind when you get into this too.
And I also have to say that what you're saying, that it's like the 90s animated series, to me, that sounds fantastic, because I only discovered that series relatively recently. I discovered it around the same time as Man of Steel came out.
Oh,
So I saw the first episodes of the 90s animated Superman series about the same, just a couple of weeks before I saw Man of Steel. And my thoughts after seeing Man of Steel was, I liked this movie, and I do, but I also thought the 3 first episodes of the Superman the animated series were better, and they'd be better off if they had just taken the 3 scripts for those and just filmed that.
that's what I always said about it too. But yeah, so I don't know how much longer you can hang out, Script, but
I've probably got about 20 minutes or so.
All right.
So as long as my battery doesn't die.
all right. Well, I just wanted to make sure I didn't have to let you go right away. But Callum Lyle says, remember Tom's famous TMNT rant? That's how I felt after seeing Jurassic Rebirth. You must have missed my Jurassic rant the other morning. You might enjoy that, Callum, if you weren't a fan of the film. Because I'm assuming you weren't by your statement here. Because, yeah, I still don't understand. Script, of all things, you might get this joke. How can this movie be a better written film than the last 3 or 4 Jurassic movies, yet still be a worse Jurassic film than the last 3 or 4 Jurassic movies? How is that even fucking possible?
I think it has to do with the fact that those previous bad Jurassic Park movies are very influential on the current one. I haven't seen Rebirth.
No, it's not that. It's just it's honestly, if anything, it's so far from the mothership. And then I found out that for some reason, I don't even understand why, I can't figure this out, they made Gareth Edwards remove all the Spielberg references.
Oh, so well, I mean,
especially the Jurassic Park ones, because it's kind of hard to remove the Jaws one because the whole first half of the movie has a huge Jaws reference in it. But that being said, like outside of that, yeah, like there's only like 2 other scenes in the entire movie that feel Jurassic Parky.
Well, you have to consider that Gareth Edwards wants to be a director, but he's really a special effects guy. And that's why he easily capitulates to when a producer says, oh, let's do this or let's do that. Like, again, he was pushed out of Rogue One for a reason. And Tony Gilroy, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but I do appreciate the efforts he puts in, he has a bit more of a spine when it comes to his vision. But Gareth, I think he should go back into special effects and integrating that into in-camera work, because that's where he's excels at. He's not, I don't find him to be a legitimately good director.
Well, and David Koepp is not as great. Like
David Koepp is just on fumes, man.
Yeah, that's kind of what this is, man. It's like you're rewriting every Jurassic Park movie we saw in the earlier ones, not even the later ones, the earlier one. And then, like I said, it's so jarring in some aspects of it. There's hardly any dinosaurs in it. It's like most of them are the Retardosaurus and other ones like that. Like, and I'm not even kidding. It's literally the Island of Misfit Dinosaurs where they put all the rejects, all the mutant rejects that came out wrong.
How many islands did Hammond own? Like,
I guess 5. I looked it up the other day. I guess there's 5 fucking islands altogether. But I don't even think Hammond had anything to do with this, because this actually starts off, I think, like 17 years ago. So it might even be after Hammond's death. But it's basically when they started making all the hybrid dinosaurs. But like, literally, you know how everybody was saying the one dinosaur looked like Ricky Bearwick? It's not too far off, because he is basically. And I'm sitting here watching the movie going, can this thing even fucking smell or see? That poor thing. Like, why didn't they even bring it up in the movie? It's like, why didn't you just euthanize them? It's like, yeah, because these things can't probably function normally. But hey, they somehow lived for 17 years, but they wouldn't kill them because they were an investment. But yeah, no, I went on and on about it, Callum Lyle. It was a horrible film. But yeah, at the same time, it wasn't a bad movie. It's hard to say, because it's like, it's a shitty Jurassic Park movie, but as far as a generic monsters on an island kind of movie, it's like, like, whatever. And then Jason Webster says Julian McMahon was the only son of Australia's 20th Prime Minister Sir William McMahon. I did not know that. There you go. A little trivia. Lester Skeptic Tank Obsessions is here, and he's been here for 19 months as a member, and says good movie week. Saw F1. I've heard lots of good things about that. Haven't got a chance to check it out myself yet. And we'll be watching Superman. The one thing I am intrigued by is we know the outcome for most movies. Good guys come out on top. Are we more into unfolding or cliffhangers? I mean, I guess that's more of depends on the film and the person's preference, I guess. I mean,
also depends on who's financing the film and what their future intentions are for it. I mean, I'm a big fan of just give me a standalone story, and if it happens to eventually become an entry into a franchise, make sure the subsequent entries are also standalone stories.
Unless you're adapting something that is in multiple parts, like Dune, or intended to be in multiple parts, like a Star Wars or something,
or Hyperion. Star Wars was never intended to be multiple parts.
No, but I mean, like, it
not until the
that,
sequels or the prequels. Anyway, the prequels were almost shot like back to back to back. But
but no, give me one and dones. I want some more one and dones. I don't want to have to, like, everything's got to be homework. I want to be able to drop in and drop out as I please, kind of thing.
Well, and that's kind of the beauty of Superman is in a weird way, it feels like a second or third movie in a franchise, but it also is so self-contained that. Yeah, there's a little nugget here or there for future things, but like I said, it didn't feel like it was building up towards a Thanos thing or anything like that. It didn't feel like it was, in the background introducing Brainiac or anything like that. He's coming, no. It's just a really kind of, you could just watch this movie on its own if you really wanted to. Although, and this kind of gets into how I feel about the film. This is one of those movies where, like, when it was done, it was like, man, I want to go back into that world. I want to see all the deleted scenes. I hope there is an extended cut of this movie, because I feel like I'm missing out on some things. And in fact, I even brought up last night how I would not be against James Gunn doing like a little 45-minute kind of like intro to Superman that is kind of an origin story, but not exactly. Because I almost feel like this Superman iteration is so different that his origin story might have some differences that are interesting in exploring. But that being said, it's not necessary.
Does Gunn do director's cuts? I don't know his
Not that I know of.
Gunn
He's
is
ever
one of
done,
those
no.
that does one cut. Like he's like the cut that he releases, that is the director's cut, and so he's not one that releases different versions of his own movie. He certainly hasn't done that so far.
Yeah,
right. And he also puts in tons of Easter eggs in his movies. In fact, even to this date, there's like 2 or 3 Easter eggs in the first Guardians of the Galaxies that nobody has identified yet.
Yeah, like there's supposed to be a code, like somebody's gotten close to it, I guess, but they haven't figured it all out yet.
Right.
In the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, especially I think that's the first one, and I don't know if it's in the subsequent ones. When every time there's a name of one of the places they're at comes up, there's always like little numbers and digits that pop up in there. There's a code, and I guess this guy figured out that there's a code in there, and he's got most of it right, I guess. And Gunn has actually told him you got most of it right, but you're not quite there yet, or something like that.
Yep.
So so there's all these little Easter eggs and shit that he's always hiding in his movies.
Well, if Gunn is moving away from an interdependency in movies in these franchises, I'd be a happy guy, because I'm getting sick of the everything having to be connected together on some rinky-dink scaffold.
And the cool thing is correct me if I'm wrong in the chat if anybody knows about what I'm talking about. Like, I think the code actually says something about Rocket, and it kind of sets up the third film, if I'm not mistaken. It's like, there's like little bits and pieces in there about something or other, but like I can't remember what it was about. I saw the video so long ago. Oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. This is it right here. It's this isn't real and Mom's sickness, but there's another part they haven't figured out yet.
Right. I was hoping it said drink your Ovaltine, but oh well.
Yes, that's what it is. That's the part we haven't figured out yet. Drink your Ovaltine. Yeah.
Now, one of the things, like to your point, Tom, on James Gunn, now his plan with the cast, because they've got the entire cast has got multi-year contracts, but it's not just for films; it's also television, animation, and video games. So you never know; there might be prequel sections of Superman or any of the other characters that will complement this, but not necessarily be homework. Because I mean, that's the goal. Like, if it's an entertaining piece and it's got a good story of its own, it will be homework, but it will not be, dreadful homework. It'd be like, oh, I get to actually take a look at this. I get to visit this world again. Because I was one of the few people out there that really enjoyed Creature Commandos, because I knew exactly what it was, and it was pretty fun.
I want to see Jimmy Olsen.
Family friendly though, for sure. Creature.
No, it's not family friendly.
No.
I want to see a Jimmy Olsen show with all the women he's pulling down, man. I'll tell you that right now.
That was, I thought, a very clever inversion of original Jimmy Olsen, because he was borderline, retarded in the comics and even in the George Reeves show. Like, there's an episode where he doesn't even recognize his aunt that he hasn't seen in like a few years, and someone's just posing as his relative, and he just falls for it.
Well, and he's not like, I mean, that's the thing. There's some highlighted characters in this film, and some other things I'd love to get into, but they get too spoilery at some points. But Jimmy is a highlight.
Peacemaker a little bit. There's also a end credit scene that it doesn't seem Marvel-y, but it does kind of take you to the next step for the next movie, right?
Oh yeah, well, they were shooting Supergirl like a month ago.
I was gonna say that's actually in the movie proper. The only after credit scenes were real.
Let's be careful with spoilers here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, there are 2 end credit scenes, but I don't think either one of them, I would say, really set anything up for the future. Or, in fact, you've seen both of them. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
Yep.
In 2 different forms. Yeah. One of them you've seen in one of the promo things, and the other one you've seen photos from the set. It was one of the first things they shot. But again, that's all I'll say about it.
Yeah.
It's fun stuff. Most of this movie is just chock full of fun. Like, I was like grinning ear to ear through most of the movie.
That's awesome.
Wow. I've never seen anyone say that to a Superman movie in like 20 years.
I mean, yes, it took me a bit to get into it. It took me a bit to get used to this world and figure out what James was doing here. And that's where I said I felt like maybe a little bit of a precursor might have set me up for this. I even miss like the days when they used to do like like I said, it could even have been like a biography or something like that. It could have had some fun with it, like they used to with like
Blair Witch Project type of thing.
Yeah, kind of them, or Independence Day when they did the whole thing, like it was behind the scenes thing, but it was set up like it was a news broadcast taking over your television. Or Airheads was the same thing; it was a news broadcast, and they were cutting in taking over because they were taking over the radio station, so they're doing a news broadcast of it. Things like that. Something that kind of was like, because you know how he did the Christmas special for Guardians of the Galaxy. It could even have been just some little thing like that, maybe, to just kind of get us into the world.
Yeah, because one of my colleagues who works in editing the movie said James Gunn does what he calls like a Rubik's Cube presentation, where you see the mixed up Rubik's Cube, and as the minutes go by, it's getting more and more fulfilled. Each side is getting more of one dominant color until after like 10, 15, 20 minutes, all the sides are complete, and you're like, oh, okay, I know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and this is where, like, I understand some people are not going to like the tone and other things in the movie, but I've seen some people say stuff about it being badly written in a sense of the story and how it's a mess. I don't see that. Like, the story is pretty much there. Like, you get what the story is. It's the main story is front and center. So, I don't know, unless I'm missing something somewhere. But, I mean, you could nitpick the hell out of it if you wanted to, but we tried nitpicking it a bit last night, but even then, still. Let's get some more of these super chats, and then we'll get more into Superman, because I'm sure these are all about Superman anyway. Packet Proton says, spoiler-free review. Would you place this at the level of Superman 2, 3, or Superman Returns? Well, see, I'm somebody who actually likes Superman 3 more than most people, and I love the first half of Superman Returns, and then I think it just falls off a cliff quickly in the second half. I would put this... See, here's the thing. This is so different from any of the other Superman movies. It doesn't have that epic sense that the original Donner films have, but it has like this, we're just watching, like this is like another episode of a Saturday morning cartoon. Does that make sense? With in no negative connotation whatsoever.
I got a question for you, Tom. Without no spoilers involved. Does this feel like a movie, or does this feel like a souped up streaming special?
Not in that sense. That's not what I meant in that respect. I mean in the sense of just the style, the tone.
No. I mean, without this,
it feels like a movie in an absolute sense of a movie. Okay. But yeah, like what I mean in that is, I get what you're asking. So, but like, yeah, it just in other ways though, the story is kind of like how a good sequel in a good series of films, it's like, okay, yeah, this is a good one. Whether it was a part 2 or 3 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, or even a part 4 for that matter.
Okay.
But I mean, the way it starts out, it just like, boom, gets you going. It gives you a little crawl to kind of just explain where you're at. And then it just starts. There's no flashback sequences. There's no, reiteration or anything like that over the credits or anything like that. It just kind of starts. And that's where it's kind of jarring at first, but then once you kind of get with, because it does hit the ground running, so once you catch up with that, you're good to go. And I know some people have said it takes a little bit to get into it, like Grace Randolph took a while, I guess, for some reason. But I'm like, it doesn't take that long, honey.
Well, she couldn't get over her James Gunn hatred, so that's taking her a few minutes.
And even things kind of been misrepresented, like even in that one interview where he said there was like that 8-minute scene. It's technically 8 minutes, but it's like their whole evening cut. And see, that's the thing. Like the scenes that we got that he put out were completely chopped up out of context and with missing all sorts of shit.
Well, we figured of that, but
yeah, because like the scene, like just for instance, like because everybody's seen the scene and made a big stink out of the scene with him blowing up at Lois. Yeah, that's literally like 2 shots of this huge sequence. Where he only freaks out like a couple times. The rest of it, he's more just getting agitated. And you kind of see it in the clip, but like that's like the one of the blow up parts of it. But yeah.
Yeah, but then again, like there's no money in YouTube if you just say, it's out of context. You gotta go with the sensational part.
But I'm not saying everybody's going to agree with the film. And like before you got here, I even said you can throw all kinds of political analogies at this movie, but you could do that to just about any film. Like this. When it comes to a comic book, especially when you have like fake nations going to war and people like Lex Luthor, you could, supplant Trump or Elon easily into their roles, right? Like it's not that hard to do. But at the same time, there's specific things in the film that kind of tell you that it's not this and it's not that. Like there's a specific line that kind of tells you that Luthor is not a Trump allegory or anything like that. Yeah.
Sorry, it's hard to tell sometimes when, like, is it a pause or is it someone talking?
Sorry, that's my fault.
No, it's not your fault. It's my fault. I was just going to say that,
we all do it.
It doesn't take a college degree to read between the lines of a cookbook. Is the thing. You can find the meaning in clouds anytime you want if you try hard enough.
Right, like I said, if you take any like skirmish where you have one nation that's much bigger than another nation. I mean, there's 2 or 3 skirmishes we've had in the last few years that I could apply to this one. You know what I'm saying? And the role that Lex Luthor plays in it, it would be pretty hard stretch to kind of draw certain parallels. But then there's certain lines and things in the movie where I can totally see people are going to be like, that's a political thing. That's a political thing. It's like even the idea when James Gunn said anything about the movie being political, he didn't even mean that in a sense. I don't think that everybody else was trying to make it out to be, because there's not even that much politics in the movie. Most of it is what you saw in that scene of those two arguing, because that's pretty much the setup. And you don't even see that on screen, by the way. This movie starts after that happened already. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the abstract politics of, oh, we have these foreign nations and they're going through issues, and does Superman, being someone who people identify as American, does he also represent America when he interferes in those countries? That's proper politics.
That's the question.
Art. Yeah,
you right there just nailed the way the movie starts. That's the big question on everybody's mind when the movie starts out, because in his mind he stopped a war, but in a lot of other people's mind it's like, wait a minute, did you even think about what you were doing or who you were interfering with? Because the guy that you interfered with is our nation's, their nation is our nation's friend. Like, we're allies, so like you just went against our ally. Is that a war? Like a declaration of war? Like, what's going on here? Does this guy represent America? Who does he represent? Right? Like, that's kind of what everybody's asking at first, but it doesn't even really dig deep into all the, he's an immigrant, is he American, is he this? It's just a question that's brought up.
Where does Superman's allegiance lie, type of thing.
Kind of, and then that's where Lex finds his in. Right, because that's where it's all about. He just wants to tear him down in so many different ways and whatnot. The typical Lex Luthor.
The envy aspect of Lex Luthor, yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, he even says that. Do I envy you? Yes. He even says that exactly.
Deport that immigrant now.
There's other things that I don't want to get into spoilers. Like that you could totally draw some parallels to if you wanted to, but you just have to be basically, because pulling shit out of thin air in some of it, because it's stuff that didn't even exist then. But HR Star says with $5, how are there any Snyder bros left after Rebel Moon? That's a good question, because even that one Snyder bro who leaked his early Superman review, that's the only thing that I could find of Snyder's that he gave a negative review to, was Rebel Moon and Rebel Moon 2. Like, he didn't totally hate Rebel Moon 1, but he totally did not like Rebel Moon 2 at all. He didn't care for part 1 that much, but yeah, that's the only 2 bad reviews I could find of. But most Snyder fans admitted that was a piss poor idea to begin with. But yeah. Did anybody even see that here on this panel?
Rebel Moon?
Yeah.
No. Yeah, eventually I watched it in sections because I didn't want to have brain rot.
Yeah, well, there's like 12 hours of grain just floating.
Fortunately for me, I put it into my editing software and I just looked at whatever long shot was and I just condensed that to speed it up.
Sped it up.
So I only ended up watching I think 45 minutes of the movie is what there actually is.
Yeah, I bet you if you put the Justice League cut, the Snyder cut of Justice League on actual speed, not all the slow-mo, the movie's probably only 90 minutes long. I wouldn't be surprised. And that was one of my favorite videos that came out after the Snyder cut came out. It's like, this guy said, this is the only real difference between the 2 movies. And he showed a shot of the Joss Whedon cut where it shows a building, cuts inside, and all the action's starting to happen already. The sequence is in play. Go to the Zack Snyder cut. There's a shot of outside, a little closer to the building, the hallway going into the building, the hallway going to the room that you're going to go to, outside of the room you're going into, a cut into the room going into where everybody's starting to set up the scene, a whole bunch of shit before the point that we got to where the Joss Whedon cut happens. Then you get to the Joss Whedon cut where the actual scene technically starts. That's the truth. It's like, you didn't really add anything that was new outside of the stuff that we hadn't seen before that they reshot. Like, other than that, it's all the same stuff. It's just longer.
Overcompensating for lack of vision and talent. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I'm not going to say he doesn't have vision as far as visuals, but yes, the vision as far as like
the abstract
an overall
narrative,
story. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you there. Anyway, after watching The Flash, do people really want to have that universe keep going? See, that's the other part, HR Star, and I had to remind Andre of this in the last couple videos we wrote, that you got to remember the Snyder Bros don't consider anything post basically BVS other than Zack Snyder's Justice League anything technically Snyderverse unless it's convenient for their argument when they want to bring up Aquaman or Wonder Woman. That's the only 2 times they will consider any other films other than those 3 technical Snyder films, if that makes sense. Any other time do you hear them talking about Wonder Woman or Aquaman? No. They don't care about those. They only invoke those when they need to make a point. So, yeah. And even Wonder Woman is the only one you can kind of tangentially say is, I think Snyder had any hand in, because did he even touch Aquaman, Andre, from my memory? I don't think he had much to do with that.
James Wan stepped as far away as he could from Snyder's influence to make that movie, while at the same time trying to keep it as close in line to the first on-screen appearance of Aquaman with Jason Momoa.
I was going to say he got stuck with the casting, but other than that, I think he was kind
Everybody
of
got stuck with the casting.
Yeah.
They were not happy about that.
Well, and we might see a similar problem here with the DCU going forward, but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah.
I mean, well, the difference being is that James Gunn is head of the DC studios, so he's going to have final say on casting anyways. Even though they got Millie Alcock, she's playing Supergirl. The director of Supergirl liked her a lot, and then James Gunn agreed, and that's how it kind of worked out.
I was just going to say, I think he'll be more collaborative.
Yeah. Because
he's seeing this from the other side, and I think, for better or worse, he wants to try not to do the mistakes that Marvel made while also doing the right things. And he was there to see all this. And I think that's why he threw them under the bus, too. Because he's not going to make those mistakes. At least he's going to try not to. But we'll have to see how it goes going forward here. Then Alex Kurtzman is an unemployed little biatch, sends in another 35 South African rands to say the studios need to step in with the trades about these journos. They're the ones killing movies, and Gunn realized it. Well, here's the problem. They're in such deep-rooted bed with these motherfuckers that's the problem, is they need them, and they have all manipulated the system so much. But the one thing that we were trying to point out with our video, and we got a lot of flack for that video if you go read some of the comics, is some people just don't want to believe it, and or have bought into the headline, or drank the Kool-Aid, however you want to put it. Because for some reason, they just don't want to admit that Hollywood has Zaslav derangement syndrome.
Oh, they totally do.
It's like, you guys realize how much they hate this motherfucker? He might be the one person they hate almost as much as Trump. Like, you don't get it, do you? I mean, and they hate him so bad that they were willing to sacrifice James Gunn.
They hate him so much. Like, Zaslav has really done a 180 on Warner Brothers with his success, and yet the trades bashing on him so much, the entire conjecture in California and New York about him has been causing downgrades in the value of Warner Brothers in the stock market.
Yeah, and they're in better shape than most of the other studios. Yeah,
yeah, they are literally the king of Hollywood right now, because they have had fewer flops and fewer financial disasters, with the exception of Joker 2. It really is the biggest one, than any of the other studios in Hollywood right now. And also, they have more word of mouth market share than anyone in Hollywood right now. Like, they're the kings. Disney is dethroned, but Disney doesn't realize that they've been dethroned yet, so they're still acting like they're the king.
Yeah.
But take a look at their numbers, take a look at the revenues, take a look at their the resale values of all of their projects that they have released in the last 2.5 years versus Warner Brothers. More people gravitate towards those Warner Brothers films as I would rewatch that, or I like that, or what have you, versus Disney.
Well, you have the thing with Disney is, like, they have like a Lilo and Stitch this year, right? Well, everything else is going to fail, and Lilo and Stitch is going to have to float everything else, right?
Exactly.
Well, Warner Brothers, on the other hand, in the last few years, sure, they get a lot of shit and flack in the papers, but you're right. The 2 biggest bombs they've had have been Furiosa and more recently
Joker 2.
Joker 2, you just mentioned. But besides that, for every Joker 2 and every Furiosa, they got a Beetlejuice and a Godzilla vs. Kong. Right?
Willy Wonka and a Barbie.
Or Willy Wonka or F1.
Or F1, yeah.
or Sinners, or like, that's the thing. These guys have been the only ones knocking it out the park almost consistently in the last couple of years since Zaslav has taken over. But you're 100% right. They've done nothing but downgrade them. They've been done nothing but just call, Warner Brothers a disaster. It's like, do I agree with everything Zaslav has done? No. But he's come in with one idea and one idea alone, is that this should be one of the greatest movie studios out there, and we need to start making money. Why are you in this much trouble? Because they have technically more shit going for them on the entertainment side than just about anybody else in the industry. And I found it even kind of funny that, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, I knew this going into it, but it was kind of weird not seeing the Warner Brothers logo before this movie at all.
Oh, it wasn't there.
No. They don't have it. It's because as we pointed out, they separated DC films like they did with Marvel over at Disney. Because you notice the Marvel films just start with a Marvel logo. They don't start with a Disney logo.
Well, yeah, because it's a separate studio that's owned. Well, with DCU, that is owned by Warner Brothers. With Marvel, they are contracted with Disney,
right,
for basically distribution for Infinitum, essentially.
But DC is set up as a separate entity now at Warner Brothers under its own wing.
Yes.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
So it's baked into the process. It's not that Warner is trying to like put a firewall between themselves.
No, it's a baked-in subsidiary of Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, Gunn has autonomy within that studio, but he still has to answer to Zaslav and Warner Brothers.
Right.
So question. I'm trying to get one in here because I'm trying to think about what the after.
Sorry.
This will be. No. This is me trying to. I'm trying to contribute here because I haven't seen the movie. So if Superman does the buco numbers that they hope it does, and Fantastic Four falls on its face, what's the rationalization or excuses that are going to be available to Disney to explain that?
Oh,
because it can't be superhero fatigue if Superman does amazing.
No, it's going to be Superman has got at least 20 years of history on the Fantastic Four and has always been a more popular franchise for general fans. And Fantastic Four has got a history of always being able to never quite land in movies because it is. I mean, I've said it before. Fantastic Four is technically a cursed franchise when it comes to live action media.
Yes.
The Roger Corman was the closest one that wasn't even released. It's because too many people take a look at Fantastic Four and try to make them superheroes when really it's a soap opera with a little bit of science fiction, Swiss Family Robinson in space type of thing going on. They're not actively going out on patrol to save the world. They're living their own lives, doing their own things, and all of a sudden someone comes to them and says, "Hey, Fantastic Four, can you help us with this?" And Reed Richards is like, "Yeah, sure, okay."
Well, and Pixar kind of already stole their lunch with The Incredibles in the first place.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So it's kind of hard to follow that act when you haven't had a decent live action interpretation that someone has already kind of, stolen your thunder.
I don't think Disney's ready. I don't think they're ready for this failure. And I don't.
I think it's going to hit them hard. Yeah.
I don't even think that's going to be a good argument, right? It's like there may be, what do the MAGA bros think of Fantastic Four? Ever, there's not going to be that kind of reaction.
Well,
but Disney is everybody's favorite. The way the media has tried to trash.
How gay is Pedro Pascal in this movie?
Yeah,
is he the gayest gay ever?
Yeah, I think they're all going to be crowing for this more. At least the media. You've seen how they sort of tried to subtly sabotage this. Leading up to it, probably because of their ZDS syndrome that they have. It's going to be real hard for them to spin this, I think. You might be onto something, Script Doctor, but man, it's going to be a heavy lift for them given that it's Disney Marvel and they don't have that superhero fatigue. I'm expecting Superman to knock Jurassic Afterbirth off the perch this week for sure.
Oh, it definitely will. But that's a good question. Is there still a chance for superhero fatigue? Absolutely. But if this Superman movie is like one of the highlights of the end, I'm fine with that because honestly, I could use a break for a while.
Okay.
I could care less about Fantastic Four. This is the only real movie I was looking forward to this summer. And thank God I ended up, I haven't really said it flat out, but yes, I liked it. I liked it. I give it like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 at
You're
best.
smiling at it, Tom. You loved it, I think.
Yeah, I laughed along with the sequences that laughed. Was there some stuff that didn't land? Absolutely. Is there some dodgy CGI? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really take away from the story. Is there going to be aspects and elements of it that some people are just not going to be into? Absolutely. But as I've noticed, a lot of the folks that didn't like it, they don't say, and again, even in most of the people in our community have made sure to say, it's not woke, I just didn't care for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Which is totally fucking fair.
Sure.
Right? As I said, this is definitely a flavor of soda that some people are just going to go, ah, that is just too wild for me. But other folks are going to go, this is just fucking amazing and what I've been waiting for my whole life. And I know the Snyder Bros have already fucking took it and they're trying to make fun of it, but that doesn't fucking matter. It's true. This is the most comic booky movie of comic book movies I have ever seen in my life. It feels almost like it was ripped off the pages.
That's great. And
as far
I
as the
think
tone and everything,
Gunn has been leaning into that. You know, I think that that's been the mission statement. That's been the mantra going into all this stuff. And what better character to be able to play with that sort of mission to make it more comic booky, lean into it, and have fun with it than Superman. I'm impressed. I'm glad. You know, I liked the first Guardians. I liked the last Guardians. I didn't care too much for the second one, even though
it's funny because I loved the second one.
Did you?
Why am I the only person? No, I know, and I know I'm like alone on that.
You know, I think a lot of times too, when you watch a movie at a certain point, it might be what you took into the theater with you that sort of taints the lens to which you view the movie.
Well, maybe if you think about it this way, because if you step back and take a broad look at it, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy is the Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, okay. I can see that.
It's basically the same thing. The team meeting up in the first movie, very similar to that respect. The second movie, he takes the team and he rips them apart. And he sends them off on a separate mission, just like they did in Empire. Then in the third film, they're saved by a bunch of fuzzy creatures.
Yeah.
And there's a world to the oh gosh,
it's a lot like it. You even got a bad guy whose face comes off. I mean,
the high evolutionary, the high evolutionary is.
Well, you have the revealing of his father in the second.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many little parallels. If you kind of look at him and step back, you're like, this motherfucker was just remaking the Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah, he's having fun. It was a remix. It was totally a remix.
It's totally a remix. Yeah.
You just combine Luke Skywalker and Han Solo into one guy.
Yeah,
pretty much. It's Spaceballs.
Yeah, right, for sure. Spaceballs. I think too, a lot of people are taking into the James Gunn movies. They still don't like him because of the whole, the pedo jokes and some of the things that he might have said about Trump. So they're carrying that. But for somebody like Grace, after their little dust up, for her to come out and say positive things about it, I mean, that says a lot.
You know what?
I don't know.
I think he's the one person who actually learned a fucking lesson.
Maybe.
Because I don't think he said shit about Trump since him being quote unquote canceled. Correct. I do put it in quotations.
Yeah.
No.
He was only canceled by Disney, not by the rest of the
Yeah, and that's what I say. That's why I point out
really Mike Cernovich, one of those right-wing influencers.
Well, between him and then Alan Horn basically jumping the gun is what happened.
Yeah.
I think the closest that he got, if you want that kind of commentary, was probably embedded in Creature Commandos in a couple of places.
Possibly. I haven't seen that.
But he had written that so long back that it might have predated his cleansing himself of political commentary.
Look, as far as the jokes go, it's been this long, and if there was ever going to be a time where any accusations were going to come out, it was going to be in the height of that. And nothing, zero, zilch. There was nothing. And look, I get it. You may not like the jokes. I didn't think most of the jokes were that funny. But it's kind of hypocritical to say that he... that it's something you shouldn't joke about if you've ever laughed at South Park, Airplane. I can sit here and name movies and TV shows all day long that have done jokes and bits on the same kind of material. It's how it's handled, it's contextualized.
Well, you're totally right. Just his jokes were a lot of them were tasteless.
In very poor taste.
They were weaponized against him.
And they were weaponized against him. And I think he learned his lesson by that, was my whole point. And I think it's come to this ultimate moment here where when this fucking guy sticks this mic in his face.
Yeah.
And this is the moment where he could have tanked it all.
No.
Right?
Yeah, go for it.
Totally could have.
You said it's an immigrant story. It's a political movie. MAGA today is going nuts. What do you have to say to MAGA? I don't have anything. I think this movie's for everybody. I don't have anything to say to anybody. Like I'm not here to judge people, you know. I think this is a movie about kindness, and I think that's something everyone can relate to.
Sweet. Could have been even more artful, but that was good.
Yeah. How disappointed was Malkin by that response, do you think?
Very. They had to twist the shit out of this.
Extremely disappointed. You could tell from the article how they really had to reach. But Tom, actually, I have a question about that, because you've seen the movie, I have not. But as we went through that interview with Gunn and I started reading into it, then those that have seen that video know that I kind of like arrived at a conclusion of what he really means. And I think, just to summarize, I think what he means with kindness is in response to the meanness that he sees around him and how people are so crazy online, but everything he sees is inside of the Hollywood bubble. Because the stuff that he said in that interview, with they're flooded with people being crazy on social media. I'm not flooded with crazy people on social media. He probably is, because he's in the Hollywood bubble. That's where you have all of these social activists who are angry and screaming and stuff like that. I think, this is my hypothesis, is that when he talks about people need to be kind to one another, then the people he's referring to, and he may not even be aware of this, or maybe he is, are actually the people inside the Hollywood bubble and the meanness that exists there.
I think he is aware.
Would you agree with that?
I think he's aware, and I think he kind of answered your question in that article, or in that interview, whatever you want to put it, when he said that I even have to look at myself as part of this.
Yes, right? Exactly.
And I think what he's saying is just all this rhetoric, all this stuff, like it's very much it's in line with that South Park episode where Cartman has Butters clean up his social media. Like, I can tell that, yes, what you're saying is James Gunn, being somebody who's always been somebody who's prolific online, he's seen all this stuff. And I think he's at least somebody on the left who said, you know what, I may not agree with all these guys, but I don't hate these people. And I think that he realized in his fuck up, in his dust up, that at the end of the day, it's better to say, you know what, I don't agree with you, but let's agree to disagree and move on from that, than to say, you know, fuck you and fuck Trump. Or, you know, whether it's a Snyder bro or any of that shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, he also has a lot more responsibility now. So he has to kind of mitigate that. I mean, the other part too is, like, he has a massive following compared to a lot of us here on the panel. So he is going to see way more data points of interactions with people and also bots than any of us would ever see. And that's going to give him a lot of information and stuff to draw upon that he can use to entertain us and also make a little bit of commentary. And I mean, he is echoing a little bit of what John Carpenter was doing in the 80s. I'm not so much sure about today, because John Carpenter's, you know, he's still.
I can see that parallel. I can see that parallel. Just replace like the humor for the sci-fi horror element. Yeah,
because Carpenter, he has a lot of friends that are like politically opposite of him, but they're very close friends. Like, he's still best friends with Kurt Russell, and they're very opposite ends of the part. But I haven't heard anything on Carpenter making any political commentary or things on. With regards to Trump or anything else like that recently. I could have just missed it, but I haven't caught it on my feeds yet. But there's something there where it's like, yeah, here's the thing. There's another entity out there that wants both the left and right perspectives to not actually talk to each other. And they want to think that each one has to be an other, that has to be expunged in some way. Mm-hmm. And when you realize what that is, you realize, like, if you let that happen, you're falling into exactly what they want. And James Gunn here is saying, like, okay, I'm not really going to follow that through, but I'm in a business business point of view right now. People need to see my movie. I can't exclude half the world from that. So I'm just going to write for the broad, old school writing, write for the broadest audience, but have your own type of heart behind it of what you want to get out from the movie. And he's been pushing since the announcement of this film about kindness and how he's writing a kind character in a world that doesn't think kindness is actually worth respect.
Yeah.
I think that's
this is
well
the kind
said.
of-
You can even
sorry.
see that right there on the screen. It's like he's looking at that interview going, this effing guy. This is
Yeah,
you're
I
not
can-
helping.
I
You're
think
the
he's
problem.
pissed.
Yeah, he's saying like you're the problem, man.
Yeah,
That's what he's
you're the
saying.
problem. I was talking about you. Right.
What were you saying, Scribe?
Well, I was just going to say this is sort of a Hollywood version of the dying art of professional distance, is being able to leave the unnecessary pieces of your personal life at the door and do the job that you need to do while still, trying to enjoy it, but not getting so entwined with your personal vision that it becomes the all-encompassing part of how you proceed in a professional manner.
Yeah. And I mean, everybody probably wonders about the American Way thing. Look, the fact that the political side of this movie is so kind of sidebar once you start getting into what it's all about.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it's really difficult to explain it all without getting into spoilers. But Andre's point, like, there's a big point in it I want to say, but it almost kind of gives away, not so much gives away, but it is the whole encompassing idea of the story. And that is that basically, like, online and in certain kind of aspects and ways that we kind of distance ourselves from each other, whether it's a mask or like a superhero would wear a mask or however you want to put it. And this is just to try to kind of obfuscate it a little bit. Like that whole idea that there's still people, right? We're all people at the end of the day, right?
Oh, like what Superman said at the end of A Quest for Peace.
Yes. In fact, you will understand why, even though it's never uttered once in the entire movie, but you'll see why in some of the merchandising they put truth, justice, and the human way or whatever. I get it now, because it is about Superman technically being human, if that makes sense, without giving away too fucking. And I hope I didn't give away too fucking much.
That's always been part of the running themes of Superman, is that he's raised by humans, so he embodies everything.
And when I mean human, human when with flaws and all.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, this goes back to essentially, as I've said on this channel, I've said on Twitter and even on my Patreon stuff, when the War Department added the American way to his credo, that's where issues started to rise. And I'll put it to you this way: it's absurd as a saying, like, with great power comes great responsibility and the American way, because that's going to divorce people from Spider-Man now. Or in Blackest Night, the Green Lantern oath: no evil shall escape my fight, and the American way. I mean, think about it that way.
And I don't disagree the way it's used on the products. Like, this is stupid. The way they used it on products was fucking stupid. It makes absolutely no sense.
Right. But if you just keep it never-ending battle for truth and justice, that applies to everything, and that still embodies American values. And that's where you get away from the geopolitics of it. And that's what's also can, cause a lot of controversy too.
Because it kind of boils down to, and not to try to get too much into it, it's a lot of just like people not having enough conversations with each other about things and just kind of assuming so much, right? Like, that's kind of, it starts out that way, right? Superman just assumes he's going in and stopping a war.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's the setup for the beginning. That happens before the movie even starts. That comes back around at the end with all the assumptions that a lot of other people make about things. And that's kind of what gets to that point where it's like, yeah, he may be an alien, but he was also raised by a couple of parents from Kansas. And so he only knows how to be a human, if that makes sense. Like, without,
of course,
getting too deep into it.
It's culturally American.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like, he is Americana encapsulated. And do they flat out say that? No, but it's fucking obvious. He comes from middle America, right? I mean, and his parents are salt of the earth. Yes, they do treat them in a way in the movie where I feel like they didn't get enough screen time. And what we do get to see of them, some people are going to nitpick at quite a bit. But look.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Did Tom drop?
Oh,
did I drop?
You did. Yeah, you dropped out there.
Either that or was the most dramatic pause ever. Because
I
was
said,
like,
his mother is my mother. I don't know where I left off. So.
Oh, did you? Is your mother's name Martha?
Yeah,
no,
that's where I was
thinking. No, but like, there's this scene where she's on the phone and people are making fun of it because, they're supposed to be, salt of the earth kind of folk. It's like, yeah, they do kind of come off in a certain way, but at the same time, it's like, that is kind of pretty realistic. Like, my mom's a very intelligent person, but she's also like that on the phone. It's hard to talk to her, You know, and it's because there's some people were nitpicking. It's like, don't you think somebody at this age could be able? No, you haven't met my fucking parents, have you? They don't know how to use a phone. So like, yes, there are little things like that people are going to laugh and pick at. But to me, it's like, I just feel like we didn't get enough time with some of these characters is probably why. But anyhow, let's keep moving with these super chats because we got quite a few here. Not that that's a bad thing. It's definitely a good problem to have. We've got, let's see here, where do we leave off? We got this one here. Got that one. Here we go. Packin' Proton says, Scribe's icon freaks me out. The face is too small.
Hey, that is proportional to the animated version of the figure.
It's true.
I had to shrink it down because if you look at Superman's head on the animated series, it is a tiny thing compared to the rest of his body. Tiny.
Yep.
Very tiny.
It's a Bruce Timm style.
Yep.
And then Kalikioki says, reviews are mixed in our sphere. Jeremy and Geeks and Gamers did not like it at all. Snarky J called it meh. Waiting for Gary. Gary didn't like it so much. I don't know if he hated it, but he didn't like it so much. I saw that last night. Critical Drinkers takes low expectations. Again, it's some people are just not going to dig on it, but everybody on my panel last night dug it. Some of the other
just this cosplayer who's only famous because she looks like Aubrey Plaza with big boobs.
I have no idea.
But I heard that too.
But Yellow Flash loved it. Valiant Renegade liked it. So we'll see as more people see it how they feel. I'm not surprised though. Yeah, Polly liked it. I was gonna say I'm sure there's gonna be some people who just aren't gonna like it. But and again, at least most of those people have had at least the courtesy to say it's not that it's not woke at all or anything. I just didn't care for it, which is understandable. Pilgrim Media says, question: are there multiple exposition dumps? No, not really. I mean, a lot of it's happening with the action. It's pretty. James Gunn knows how to structure a film for the most part. That's why I don't understand where people are saying it's messy, because I didn't think it was very messy. I thought it was pretty well put together, and I do want to go see it again in 3D, because that was one thing I felt like, oh, this movie would look great in 3D. But
I didn't hear messy so much as overstuffed a little bit.
It may be a little bit, but I didn't even feel that.
Okay.
I didn't. It didn't really to me. I mean, I felt if anything like, okay, and here's the problem with it. It doesn't feel so much overstuffed as you have some characters where you're just like, who are they? Like, I don't remember who that was now because I only got like one introduction scene with them and I never saw them again. Like, there's a lot of that, especially the Daily Planet people get a lot of the shaft in this movie. Because there's only like, because somebody asked last night how much does he balance Clark and Superman a lot, and I said, well, it depends on who you mean by Clark. Do you mean Clark the Daily Planet Clark or Clark?
Oh, like the core guy, the guy in the middle.
Yeah, the guy in the middle. He is most of the movie. As far as the Daily Planet Clark, I think there's like 2 scenes.
Oh, that's almost like in the original Superman movie. He's barely in the Daily Planet in that movie.
Yeah, and that's probably because most of that won't. And I mean, not that there's not much of the planet, but it's like we cut back to them a lot. But there's so much action and everything's going on at once. And once the plot unfolds and people are starting to figure out what's going on, like it's all happening with the action. So it doesn't feel like you're slow. Like Jurassic Park Rebirth, it's nothing like that, where we had to stop for everybody to tell their little fucking story. You know what I mean? Like,
I have to leave, unfortunately.
All right. Well, take care of yourself, Scribe, and tell everybody about your channel where you've got stuff going on there.
Yep. So tomorrow, got my next episode of TED Excellence. Apparently, we're going to be taking a look at for those of you that are wary of DEI and stuff, a lot of companies and organizations are retreating to the concept of inclusion as the alternative fallback position of rhetoric when it comes to DEI. It's not the best rebranding ever, but a lot of companies are doing it. And this lady apparently is going to, after 10 years of already trying to impose it upon companies and organizations, explain to us, what is inclusion and how does it work? I'm like, I can't wait to find out, because how does it work now? This is the thing you have to remember. They keep redefining these things to try to fit the current moment. And so I'm curious to find out what our purported expert has to say on this subject. That's tomorrow, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And then
It's
if
all
you hadn't
about
already seen it.
belonging, sir. You have to belong.
Oh no! Well, we've had D&I, we've had DEI, we've had JEDI, but they decided that was too corporate and too related to Star Wars, so they dropped that. Then we had DEIB, which is belonging, but of course I always said they should make a DEBI. Then they could call it Debbie and have a nice little cartoon mascot, but they dropped that too. Then they went DEIA, which almost sounds like some kind of enforcement agency, but no, that's accessibility. And then they've dropped that too, and they've gone back to DEI, and now they're whittling down to an inclusion index, which is a whole bridge thing. But hey, how do I know all this? I don't know. Anyway, so that'll be tomorrow. And then, of course, if you didn't see it already, my DEI Death Watch episode on Monday covered the little bits and pieces about the Justice Department apparently taking a look at the Academy Awards for their demonstrably discriminatory requirements for Best Picture awards and hiring practices there. So
I voted
anyway.
for that. Yeah.
Huh?
I voted for that.
Oh yeah.
Maybe next it'll be DOA. Well, we'll do that. Next.
We can only hope.
Yeah, right.
Well, they already are where the audience is concerned.
Well, some people just don't know it yet. But anyway, guys, have a good rest of your Wednesday. Nice seeing everybody on the
See you,
panel.
Scribe.
And I'll
Take
see you
care.
guys on Friday.
Thanks, buddy.
Take care, guys. Yep.
Take care, buddy.
Man.
And then we got Troy Pacelli, who's been a member for 28 months. Thank you, Troy. Lost for Words has been a member for 42 months and now knows the answer to everything. So I don't even know why he's asking questions. This is James Gunn's Superman might hit 800 million or $1 billion with positive audience reception. Maybe. I think that the sweet number is somewhere between 6 and 7. I think James kind of telegraphed that in that
Which
one
would be on
interview.
par for the last couple of Superman films, like Snyder's Man of Steel and even Superman Returns. But
well, because
yeah.
As I say, in that interview, he said flat out, you can't expect these movies to make more than that anymore, basically. So yeah, $600-700 million. So
Yeah, what he said was that there was a time when any Marvel movie would make 650 million, but times have changed. It's not like that anymore. Now the movies kind of have to earn it, is what he said. Have to stand out.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like he's hedging. He was hedging his bets a little bit. He might have been a little bit rattled to see some of the, the trajectory, the downward trajectory of the MCU movies since he.
I think he's aware of it.
Well, no, but rattled in the fact that he used to do it, and they did used to make that kind of money.
Right.
You can't forget this is the same guy that said The Flash was good, although.
You know why he said that? I mean,
I know.
If your kids are jerks, are you actually going to say they're not? They're going.
Yeah, even if it's a step kid, right? Like even if it's a step kid you inherited.
I had to say,
but no, I think no, but I agree with you. But like, I just think that he saw it, and it probably did.
Yeah,
he saw it happening in real time, and I think he's one of the few people who's in that bubble, like Andre said in the video, that he's kind of enough outside of the not outside of the bubble, but he can think outside enough of the bubble to see that there was a problem. I don't know if he could pinpoint exactly what it was, right? Like, I mean, if you ask him, he might get the answer wrong because we know the answers.
Yeah,
he might get part of the answer right.
Is have a finished script before you start shooting.
That's the thing. Is like, yeah, I mean, as far as the basics, he'd have all that shit down pat, and that's what he was making fun of in that one interview and throwing what's his face under the bus in the process.
Iger, yeah.
Was not Iger, but what's his face over at Marvel? Louis Desposito. No, Louis because he named him flat out. He's like, yeah, so and so said, and I'm like, dude, you're never gonna be welcomed over there again now. And I bet you Louis had a hell of a day that Monday after that interview came out.
Well, Louis the number 2 over at Marvel. Like
that's what I'm saying. Like he just threw the number 2 guy under the bus with no shit's given, basically. And he's basically saying, yeah, I'm not going to be pulling the same shit they are over there. And he basically said that, they did too much, like the TV shows and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I think he understands certain aspects of what went wrong. Like you said, having a finished script, having at least some kind of an idea where you're headed, even if it's not set in stone. But other than that, I don't know if he'd be smart enough to say, yeah, the woke problem or anything. But then again, you watch Superman and you see kind of how neutral it really is once you see it.
I think he's smart enough to not say it, but know it.
Exactly. Thank you, Andre. That's kind of what I was getting at. Yeah.
I want to bring back something that I picked up in Peacemaker, and maybe I was reading too much into it because many people took a cursory glance at it and decided Peacemaker is woke. Whereas what I saw and again, this might be me reading too much into it, but I don't think so. Not after what you're telling me about Superman. That it appeared woke on the surface, but in reality, it was making fun of the woke.
Yes.
It was subverting the woke tropes. It was, this is how you subvert woke. Like, it appears woke, so no one is going to say anything about it. But 20 years from now, when we are behind all of this thing, people are going to look back at Peacemaker and see, oh, look here, this is how you did something subversive. This is how you rebelled against wokeness. That's what he was doing in Peacemaker, because I saw many things in there which
well, the opening with the janitor, that entire conversation is making fun of wokeness.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then the entire tone of it is making fun of Snyder's approach of going way too dark and pseudo-based and all that crap.
And I can believe that even though he is woke himself, and he does agree with a lot of that mentality, I could see him being somebody just because of his cynical look on things, or however you want to put it.
He's a trauma filmmaker. They like going into edgy stuff. Doesn't matter.
Even Lloyd Kaufman is woke as fuck, but it's like, dude, how could you even toe both of those lines? I don't understand, but like, yeah.
Well, the thing is, he's not on the. I would say you could diverge the wokeness to. There's wokeness with the oppression of having to do this because of this, and then wokeness of, oh, I would like to take advantage of all of these opportunities, or that things are within that mindset, and then play with it. Because again, you take a look at a Lloyd Kaufman film, they'll have all that whole, like, you know, be safe, have everybody come involved, and then first and most important rule is have fun, which guess what, you can't do that with woke, but you can do the other stuff with woke.
That's what I'm thinking as well. That, I mean, kind of like that's what I see, and when it comes to like trauma and them going woke, I'm kind of like thinking of in South Park when Cartman was going to make a Christian boy band. And people were asking him, well, you don't even know enough about Christianity to make a Christian boy band. And he answered, I know enough about it to exploit it. I think that's what's going on here. They know enough about wokeness to feign it and to exploit it without actually being it. That's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm thinking.
No, I mean, listen, James Gunn's The Suicide Squad and his Peacemaker has a lot more going on with it than what you think on the surface. And that's why I really enjoyed Peacemaker, and that's why I quite enjoyed The Suicide Squad. And that's why I'm very much looking forward to Superman. And also it's why I really did enjoy Creature Commandos, because he was making fun of simp culture. He was making fun of incels. He wasn't really going on a political side. He was going on certain people that you could say are part of a political side, but not always. In fact, some of them kind of cross over. Because what's more funnier than a bunch of dejected men who are simping for a goddess from Themyscira, and all they want to do is they just want to be with her, and they'll say whatever they have to in order to promote, you know, her agenda. It's like, yeah, that's pretty funny, and you can point to real life examples of that. So,
yeah, I mean, is there things I didn't like? Yes, there are things I didn't like. I will say that. Like, I didn't care for the pop music in the movie that there is. Because there's very little, but it just didn't jive like it did with Guardians. But the score is fine. The score is great. There is some very dodgy effects in some shots. And now I'm really trying to stretch to think of things I didn't care for.
The cringe from Wonder Woman, the electric guitar.
There's some guitar in here.
Okay. All right.
If you didn't care for that first trailer theme, like, you might not like this. Because anybody who had this idea that Michael Giacchino's score was excised and they brought in a new score because they had changed so much of the movie, no.
Is there any John Williams-esque moment?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. It's very, he gets his own credit and everything. So,
oh, sweet. Okay, great.
Yeah, it's very influenced by that. I really want to get the score soundtrack. I like it.
Oh, wow.
And it's very different in a sense where, like, different characters get different kind of themes and songs. And it actually feels like I could kind of explain to you the themes that compared to most films nowadays, which we don't normally get.
Yeah.
Because even the bad guys get a theme. Superman obviously has his theme, and so on and so forth. But yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any. soft spots in the casting at all, but not really or anything like that. I mean,
Okay.
So
No weak links.
not really.
Okay.
Not that I can think of. I mean, I was kind of disappointed that the characterization that they used of Otis in this movie doesn't really get much to do.
What about Miss Tessmacher?
Yes, she does. She is. If anything, it's a great, not only, hey, Paulie, not only a great new version of her, but it does pay some homages to the OG, where you kind of are going, is she stupid or is she just that smart?
Yeah. So the balance. I do hear that they have.
I love her, man.
It's kind of a homage a little bit to Superman 2. There's some moments that, I mean, if you like the vibe of that movie, you're gonna like this.
Maybe, although I'd say Superman 2 in some respects is a bit more serious.
Okay.
I mean, although there is stuff going on in this movie that is kind of earth-threatening, I will say, in a respect, but it's...
Okay, I guess we need to see it.
And I actually liked Guy Gardner a lot.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Like your new favorite Green Lantern.
I have no clue who the fuck Mr. Terrific was before this movie, but I like him now.
But he was, just to add in on the whole Truth, Justice, American Way. I was listening to you
No
guys.
spoilers, by the way. So yeah,
great conversation. No spoilers. I'm just gonna say Truth, Justice, and the American Way. It's cooked in the story. It's all in the story.
Yeah,
it's all in.
But they don't make like some big immigration like fucking spiel. Like that is the media spinning shit, guys. Like that's what I've been trying to tell you. Yeah.
Yeah. No. This is James Gunn. As far as the writing. And even what the parents represented, the Pa Kents, the mom Pa Kent. So I was really really happy.
So it sounds like James Gunn made Superman great again.
Pretty kind of, sort of, I guess. Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a way of saying that without, like, I wouldn't say that any MAGA people are going to go out and go, yeah, it's the greatest movie ever. I mean, the mileage is going to vary, right? It's
Sean Gunn's not helping things with what
Sean Gunn screwed up.
Yeah.
He's in he's got one line in the entire fucking movie. And it's funny that the line he says, I'm not going to say it, but it's the line that I was getting at that kind of proves that there's no way that Lex Luthor is any kind of Trump allegory.
I've got it.
Because he wouldn't have said that line if that's the case. But anyhow, once you see it, you'll probably get it. And yeah, speaking of lines, you know what's funny? Because now that it's been confirmed, I guess we can say we're deep in the show. I guess we can say this: the whole super shit thing.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is I think that because it's hardly in the movie at all. It is pretty much what my guy told me. It's just kind of a quick one-off joke kind of bit, more or less. But when the joke lands, I think it landed better now because of the controversy of it being in the movie than it would have otherwise. Because that was the biggest fucking laugh in the whole movie.
Wow.
I shit you not. I'm not going to tell you what happens in the scene or how it plays out. But I will say once it's brought up and brought into the film, because it's only mentioned like once or twice, but like the one main scene with it, I think it landed better with the audience because of having it out in the world, right? If it had not leaked ahead of time, like they almost couldn't have strategically done it better. Like the fact that everybody freaked out about it made that joke land with the audience.
So that might have been a strategy.
I don't think it was because it leaked out in other ways, but it worked out for them, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, good.
Because I mean, a lot of the leaks are true. I mean, I'm just going to say that the context isn't always there, though.
Okay.
That's the thing. So, I mean, if you keying on because there's so much that's getting thrown at you at certain things and certain scenes where you think you know certain things from what you've seen in trailers and other things, that once you actually see it in the context of the film, like Paulie said, like the Truth, Justice, American Way thing is just baked into the story, even though nobody flat out says it, right?
Right.
It's just there.
Right. And that being said, we're used to that other, the left take being baked in the story where it's like, oh, it's obvious that's a girl boss. It's obvious. It's right. They don't say woke shit, but it's like, it's obvious. It's baked into the writing.
Yeah.
Right.
This is the opposite.
Well, even Lois gets her stuff to do too. And it's not, get in trouble or anything like that. And what was kind of refreshing is also for once to not have her or the damsel be kind of a big part of the, climax either, not to get too deep into it. I mean, she has her role to play, but it's not, it's not the traditional role. And she doesn't also come off as a girl boss either. Because she actually genuinely does love Superman and Clark, right? Like, I mean, that part of it is true. Even if she doesn't agree with everything that's going on, like, it kind of goes along with what I was saying in my first reaction to seeing the whole blow-up scene, right? Is I said, that's her just showing him what he's going to have to deal with if he actually did face an actual reporter. Yeah. And that's exactly what that scene was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what that scene was.
She was training him to be more
assertive. It wasn't a training even, because
it wasn't. It wasn't.
Minor spoiler, because it comes off right away in the movie. Here's the thing. Superman has only given interviews to Clark Kent.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great scene.
Yeah. So at this point, she's like, do you think you could even really face an actual interview in so many words? Like, yeah. She's like, it's real easy to answer when you know the questions. Like,
yeah, this is a teachable moment to him. Yes,
but
that's exactly what it was.
But it's also it's that, right? The press and all that. But it's also a couple's moment.
Yes, but that's the thing, is it turns into the couple thing, and I don't want to get any farther because it does have a climax to the scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they go into it as a couple, then at the right. But they've been dating for I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, they say how long, and I mean everything we've heard about it is like, yes, it's like 3 years into Superman's story. Metahumans have been around for centuries, all that kind of thing. That's all in the opening crawl. So
that crawl is vicious, man. He like slapped us with the crawl, and it's like, I'm gonna dunk you in this world.
And it is pretty much what some of us said too about, like, yeah, it's his first time he ever got his ass kicked, and then he slams on the fucking ground like we saw in the trailer. That's the first shot of the movie.
Yeah. And I've never had a problem with that because that intrigued me. There's a lot of people out there. It's like, I don't want to see my Superman beat up. It's like, then you want to marry Sue. That's what you want. You want to marry.
He gets back up. That's the thing. It's all about Superman getting knocked down and getting that. The whole movie is about Superman constantly getting knocked down and getting back up, whether it's physically or mentally.
Yeah.
That's the whole kind
journey.
of
Yeah.
Yes. It's basically that Rocky speech. You know, it's how hard you can get hit and get back up and keep taking it, right? Like, that's kind of the whole idea of it, right? I mean, and that's kind of the whole thing where he's like, he never wants to give up. Like, that's his whole thing, no matter what. And he even goes farther against anything, because this is not an OP Superman. He is not overpowered at all.
And he inspires the cynical ones.
The cynical heroes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
He even kind of gets to Lex in some bits, and I don't want to get out of the, and I don't mean it. I'm not going to try and get into too many spoilers, but like,
I'm seeing.
Yeah, I want to see it in 3D. I want to see it hopefully soon if I can afford it. But like,
just kick my dog.
But anyway, we got to get through these super chats. I'm so sorry, guys. We had other things we were going to talk about too, but. Dark King says, I felt a great disturbance in the force as if millions of Snyder hosts suddenly cried out in anger and were utterly ignored.
Well, correction to that. Let's change that millions to dozens, and you have a more accurate number.
That sounds more like it, yes.
Let's just say that they're mostly little monkeys typing on keyboards. I think I was right. It doesn't flat out say it, but it's not too obvious, but there's little things in there, but it's not just them either, right? Like, that's what I was getting at. It's the whole world. It's this whole idea of social media. It's this whole idea of we don't treat each other like people anymore. And he's not wrong, right? In a lot of ways, with the way social media has kind of taken over our lives in general, we don't treat each other as nice as we used to. And it's not in any kind of woke fucking way at all either, right? It just shows that, like, Superman, he is just a naturally nice guy. Like, Corn Sweat does a real good job of portraying the big blue Boy Scout.
It's wonderfully said, Tom. I mean, he even says golly at one point.
And it's not just that. He's just that kind of guy where he's like,
but I hear you, but it is that, like, meaning that it shows
it is, but it is like, yes.
Heart. It just, like you said, he's a good guy.
Yes. And that's really what it's all about, is him being a good man. That's really the
it.
baseline.
That's it. That
and what it takes to be a good man.
Yeah, we're even such a career woman as Lois Lane. Just like, I love this guy, man. You know, like she was fantastic.
So how long have they been hooking up?
Woo, they're both married. Look out.
No, and then he goes, so what should be next DC film from Gunn? Or has this one? We already know what it's going to be. It's going to be Lobo and Supergirl together
that's
on
not
screen.
directed by him, but yeah, it's
no, but that's the next step in the DC.
Yeah, I don't think
films.
it's actually. I don't think we've actually know which one he's going to direct.
He knows, but he hasn't told us yet.
Okay. I know the Authority was kind of up there, and then it got put on the back burner.
I think it's got. Yeah, I think that's going to get knocked to the side. I think. Did he announce a director for Wonder Woman?
No, he
followed an actress online that looks like
that
she
I
might
know.
be Wonder Woman.
And I know he announced it, and it's either written or it's being written right now, and he's really excited about it. I have a weird feeling that might be the movie he directs.
Might be. I think. Yeah, he might end up doing the Trinity. He might be doing Batman, Wonder Woman.
No, what's his face is supposed to direct Batman. That we know.
Andy Muschietti is not directing Batman.
Yeah, well, yeah, you got a point.
When we said this the moment the Flash flopped, that it was a big mistake to announce him as the director for Batman, because you're gonna have to walk that out. I said the same thing with Script Doctor. He ain't directing that movie. There's going to be some excuse, and we're seeing that already.
Yeah,
like now he already has some other thing that he's doing. I don't even know that he has it, but he's not directing that movie. No way, no how.
No, I think the next one is Clayface after Supergirl,
and that one's being directed by is that Gareth Edward?
Edward? No, that's Pollard guy.
You guys want to talk about Muschietti real quick?
Yeah. Mike Flanagan writing that. Yeah,
Muschietti and Blue Beetle director were there at the premiere.
Oh,
and they were with Sholo's manager, and I text him. I'm like, "Hey, what are y'all doing, man? You guys looking good? Where's Sholo?" Right? And he texts me back, "Sholo's filming." I was like, "Oh, where's he gonna film?"
Interesting.
We got exclusive here. So we're gonna see the return of Blue Beetle.
Well, I don't.
Is he gonna be in? I wonder if he'll pop up in Peacemaker.
I did not press it. He gave me that info. I was directly like saying, look at all those beautiful guys, those beautiful creative guys
or did he mean he was filming something else unrelated?
He didn't say. He says
okay.
He says he's filming. So yeah.
Yeah, because he has another TV series that he's doing.
I was gonna say he could be just working on something else altogether.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if he popped up in Peacemaker, though. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again. They may call it the DC universe, but in reality it's the Peacemaker cinematic universe.
Yeah, I mean, he already did an indie film. He's in Smurfs. He's playing his brainy Smurf. But I think he was in Europe. I don't know, man. Could be reaching, but I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
People are in the chat already hating on Blue Beetle, but you know what? I don't care.
The movie sucked, but I wouldn't mind seeing the character. And
I liked him a lot. Right?
No, he was good as Blue Beetle.
The movie itself was just a Mexican knockoff of every superhero movie. That was
it was all right.
I didn't like what they did with Jaime Reyes' dad. His dad would never act that way. Just be sitting on the lawn drinking a beer. He wouldn't be doing that.
Well, there's a lot of changes that they made. That looking back at it, it's like they made some bad choices with. But Sholo's very, very likable. Sholo's very likable. That, man, I got to stop looking at the chat. Sholo's very likable, and he's the only kind of endearing thing in that film. But yeah, man, I mean, listen, all I know is those directors were there. Could they be working on other projects for DC? I don't know. But there's also, I'm going to talk about this when I go live in a few, Isabella Merced's hinting that Hawk Girl is going to be in Peacemaker season 2, Andre.
Oh, cool.
We know
Again, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
She was one of the characters that I liked, but I didn't feel like got much screen time. So yeah.
Honestly, I would. Sorry, carry on to Tom.
No, I was going to read this. You have more to say on the. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if Cotton and Sweat Superman shows up in Peacemaker season 2.
We'll see.
As long as Ezra Miller wasn't on the red carpet, I'm okay.
I don't want to spoil it for Andre. I just so want to bring up the one part, but like, yeah, I can't. No. Yeah. Lassimarian sends in 5 and says, really appreciate your analysis of Hollywood anti-Superman ploy. Well, it's not just anti-Superman, right? Like, this was just a great example that we could show you in real time of what we always talk about. And this is where I said I was kind of disappointed with some folks that we know and our colleagues or whatever in the sphere, where it's like, you guys know this. You should know that whatever the 9 times out of 10, whatever the press is saying, if it's not either, a studio mouthpiece, then there's something about it that you should keep in mind that they're not telling you. Like, they're the ones that are making up all this bullshit, especially when it came to the political rhetoric, the anti-MAGA crap. Because when I read that interview, I'm like, because I saw those headlines on Variety, and I'm like, I read that interview, and I'm like, where are they getting this shit from? And it was one of the first things I said to Andre. I'm like, we gotta do something about this, because this is exactly what we've talked about all this time, about this bullshit spin that they put out there and try to supplant onto these movies, right? Like, and in this case, you could definitely tell by the body language and the way that James was acting on the red carpet that either he got a talking to by Zaslav after that interview came out, and or he was pissed because he knew he was being set up from this setup has now come to its conclusion, and he's understanding it himself now. I don't know, Andre, what's your reaction to all that?
I agree completely, and I kind of like. I think he handled himself perfectly. I just wish that he had given some of his people, especially his brother, a little bit more media training. They should know exactly what they were trying to do and remind everyone, look, don't care what you personally may feel. This movie is for everyone. That's how you answer it. Movie is for everyone. It's about kindness. That's the talking point. Do not stray away from that. Do not get baited. That's what I wish that they told everyone. Gunn, I think, handled himself perfectly here.
Well, and that may be because he's the only one who's been taken aside so far, and you're probably 100% right. I wish he'd have taken some of the other people aside and said the same thing.
Yeah, like his brother, for one.
Yeah. I mean, and what Fillion's answer was kind of... Fillion's answer was kind of either way, whatever. But at the end of the day, that's what these guys need to start understanding. And I think that's what I was trying to say before, is I think James Gunn is one of the few guys who has understood this. And that's why they had to twist his fucking interview so much. Like, and I came up with the line, and I'm glad Andre used it. They did some 60 minutes level fucking editing on that fucking interview to make it twist up and say what they needed it to say.
Yeah.
Totally. Because there's some points where I'm like, is he even really referring to what they're trying to make it sound like he's referring to? If you read through the whole article, because there's so much more editorializing going on than actual quotes. And there's sometimes where the guy will leave a quote on the end of a paragraph and start a whole new paragraph afterwards and still make it sound like that's what James Gunn is saying.
I liked how basically John Gunn said, this is not a political movie. It's got a flying dog. Like, don't read too much into it. And then the author goes straight into, oh, Trump this, Trump that.
Yeah, he reads too much into it. Just like with the whole, this is the one time I didn't see this as a puff piece where the studio had some sort of, because I think if the studio had some sort of sway over this, that wouldn't have been in there. And also you wouldn't have had the bit in there about how much they need to make, because he turns around and says, oh, this movie might have to make $1 billion, where then Gunn turns right back around and says, we're at the point where movies can't make this much anymore. And I know Warner Brothers would have said, yeah, get that out of there. Oh, we lost the script. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
I hate this new version because I can never see when there's new comments. It blends in too much. But thank you for being here, Script. I appreciate it, man. It was awesome to see you this morning. I don't get to see enough. But anyhow, thank you so much for the kind words, Lassimarian, and I'm glad it's getting its way out there. Sure, it's ruffling some feathers, but it needs to be out there. HR Star sends in another 2 and says, will we get a Batman from JL animated series? I think so. I think it's going to lean more into that direction. I think it's going to be a more traditional, not so dark, but still the Dark Knight, Batman.
I think Gunn has really been pushing it towards that animated material vibe. You know, his first Gods and Monsters incursion into the DCU was Creature Commandos, and
I think he's working on a synergy like that, right? Like,
yeah. Well, having fun with it, like the animated shows do.
Well, and what I mean is he wants like it sounds like what he's trying to do there is what's
animated, right? Movies
all
TV,
across the board, because that's what they're doing over at Conan, right? Like they're making sure everything is uniformed in a way.
Yeah.
To where it all feels like it comes from the same place. And this is what I think Gunn is going to try to do for the most part going forward. Again, I think it's going to be more open, unlike, Conan, where it's kind of one thing. But will Batman be a little darker? Probably. But I don't think it's going to be nearly as dark as anything we've seen. It's going to probably be more in the tone of like a Batman Returns / Batman Forever. Does that make sense? Like kind of more along those lines, but more comic accurate is my guess.
Yeah.
Like we're probably actually going to see the big fucking coin and dinosaur and shit like that.
Yeah.
I have a feeling.
I'd be okay with that. That's
what my guess. And the Batmobile will probably be the classic 60s style with the where the one actually turns where it looks like his head. Not the one from the TV show, but the one where it looks like his, like it has the Batman.
Yeah, it won't be the SUV from
No. And again, I'm almost wondering if, and I've said this before with the Robin thing, like I almost wonder if the reason they're picking his son as the Robin is because this is going to be the first time they're going to probably try to put a young Robin in a movie. And for people to be going, come on, I mean, unless it's his own kid, to be running around with another person's kid, even whether their parents are alive or not, it just, kind of, I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but maybe they are specifically using a certain story. But see, I'm not totally convinced that Supergirl is a wholeheartedly going to be all of the Tom what's his face Supergirl, because as far as I know, Lobo has nothing to do with that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they just wanted to get Lobo in there.
But she is the younger version of Supergirl, right? Like she's not the.
Oh yeah.
So
and
some people might have an issue with her.
Yeah.
So I will say that right up front.
And spoiler alert. Well, never mind. I was going to say something about Crypto, but I won't.
Well, I mean, that's kind of been out there, but like,
yeah, right.
But it almost, once you see the movie, it almost makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you know what it is about. Like, because if it wasn't that way, there's a few things in the movie where she could just either clear up or help.
Mm-hmm.
So she almost has to be gone.
Mm-hmm.
So if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But anyhow, that being said, Callum Lyle says a fucking Snicker bar. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of the VFX people advised not to have the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus fight the mutant, which was in the original plan. I heard there was a lot of shit change, Callum. I'm hearing more and more as the days go by, actually. As I just said at the earlier part of the show, I don't know if you were here, where they were actually, their last note was take out all the Spielbergisms, especially the ones that are referring to Jurassic Park. And like I said, in fact, there's only like 2, and you probably know Callum as well, there's only like 2 scenes or shots that are even remotely Jurassic Parky. Not that I need everything to be that way, but it's just like, it's like, are you even trying to make a Jurassic Park movie at this point? Like, it feels more like an Alien meets Jaws movie than it does a Jurassic Park movie. And then Jason Webster says Jurassic World stretch marks after Rebirth.
Which one do you think leaned the most into the horror elements? I mean, it should be a horror show, really, right?
Again, it's kind of like with the whole thing I said before with, as far as like, it's a better script than any of the last few Jurassic Park movies, but it's not a very good Jurassic Park movie.
Okay.
It does have those thrilling elements to it, but it almost feels like more of a generic
monster
Meg type movie, right? Like another one of those.
Yeah.
Instead of it, or an Anaconda, or just a generic wannabe Jurassic Park clone, not so much a Jurassic Park film.
It's too bad they can't get it right.
It's stupid fun. Stupid fun.
It's fine. Like Paulie said, I mean, most people probably won't have a problem with it.
Yeah. Okay.
But I'm kind of surprised how much some of the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World fans are sticking up for it. Because I'm like, it's barely a Jurassic film. And then once you find out they cut all this other stuff out of it, I'm like, what? And I wonder if it's not You know, I almost wonder if it's not a licensing thing. Because Jurassic Park and Jurassic World are technically two separate licenses, and this is the thing Andre and I always do. Because if you notice also, guess who isn't a producer listed as a producer on all the Jurassic World films?
Spielberg?
No, he is, but who isn't? Because she's busy.
Kathleen Kennedy.
Exactly. So to me, it almost feels like they don't want anything that would have to refer to or maybe pay any homage or money to, because there is nods to Jurassic Park and some of the other films, but they're very few and in between, right? And I wonder if they don't have to pay for that separate thing in a way. Because it's almost like they're all produced by almost separate companies in a way, even though it is still Amblin, it's still, you know, Frank Marshall producing. Kathleen Kennedy is nowhere in the credits of these films.
A good thing too. Imagine if the movie started with produced by Kathleen Kennedy. I would really bring in the ground.
Which is funny because word is that she did have some influence, I guess, vicariously to this film.
Well, getting coffee doesn't really count.
No, I know, but you know the funny thing is it almost like, you know what? It doesn't fucking surprise me because this has a lot of things in common with Jurassic Park 3, and that was the one that she was most hands-on.
Yeah. Interesting.
So there's just little elements of this. It's like, God, we've seen this movie already before. It was called Jurassic Park 3. It's like there's so much a lot like that other than the dinosaurs. There's no dinosaurs in it.
Yeah.
Like hardly at all. Like you're so glad you finally get to see the fucking T-Rex.
Yeah.
Callum, actually, Andre put that out as a separate video. If one of the mods want to grab it from our live archive, blah, 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 blah. That'd be great. Ginormous J sends in 2 and says, why is Lois dressed like a Jughead from Arch? That was one thing I didn't like, was Lois's fucking wardrobe. Now, is it horrible? No, but it's not very... They're going for that nerdy journalist bookworm kind of look throughout.
No, she's also trying to you know, like the last hints of being a punk rock girl. Quiet.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, there's a little punk rock mixed in there too, yeah. But Polly might be right that it's more of a punk rock look. But yeah, I didn't care for her wardrobe, but there's enough sexy ladies dressed nicely in this film, trust me. So yeah. Yeah. Miss Tessmacher.
Oh yeah, she was hot. Some people are asking, did Lois act like a girl boss?
No. In fact, she's very supportive of Clark. Everything she does is to support Superman in this film.
She loves him.
And at no point is she working against him. No point does she take over the story or anything like that. She is not able to, like, I don't want to give too much away. Like, she has to get help to do things, if that makes sense. Like, yeah. So, like, in that respect, she's a great reporter. She figures shit out. So, yeah, I mean, this is probably one of the best Lois Lanes outside of her fucking wardrobe. As far as feeling like Lois Lane, I see why Gunn picked her. So, yeah. Culture is in the chat. You didn't see it, Culture? Oh, yeah. It's Flash, you want the link? I'll send it to you, although we're way over time now almost, but I know you saw it. I don't know if Culture saw it or not. I think I saw R2 in the chat, too. I know he saw it, too, but... Yeah, I think felt fairly similar to my feelings on it. But if you want a link, just go ahead and hit me up on X. But we're going to keep going on Super Chats here. Got that one. And this is where we left off. Mercenary X21 says, yes or no, good or bad, Superman watch or pass? I would say watch. Paulie, I think you gave it a watch.
Pretty much everybody... 100%.
Our reviewer loved it. His review comes out later, so he loved it.
Like I said, and the people in our sphere who didn't like it, they flat out said, like, yeah, it's not woke. I just didn't care for it or whatever. But yeah.
If you like the animated show, you're going to like this, is what he says. And he loved it.
And some people might not take to the Gunnisms because there are Gunnisms in it. But it's not like overt as bad as like.
Go make up your own mind, man. You know, if you don't like it, well, you know, or you don't want to see it, don't go see it.
Just don't go.
Don't go if you want to see. Do a matinee. If you want to save some money.
Simple as that.
Would you recommend it in IMAX, guys?
I would, yeah, because it was shot for IMAX.
Okay. Did you see it in IMAX, Paulie?
I didn't, so I'm seeing it in IMAX tomorrow night.
Ooh.
I actually saw
Yeah, and I saw it in regular. I didn't see it in 3D, and there's 3D showings of it too.
There's 3D. I forgot that.
I saw F1 on IMAX last week.
I saw it too on IMAX. Enjoyed the heck out of it.
So thrilling, right?
Top shelf.
I didn't get a chance to do that, unfortunately, even though Paulie sent me some money. But instead, he bought me a Jaws popcorn bucket. It's the few. Mercenary X21 says, and all the bad press was just Hollywood sabotage, right? Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, it literally was. Exactly as we were saying, it was sabotage. It was made up bullshit about nothing. There was like no immigrant story or anything like that. Evidently.
And what wasn't out there to sabotage?
Your guys are saying, because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, and I mean, and outside of them just trying to sabotage Warner Brothers out of this, I said this to you, Andre, and yesterday I think it was, not on the show or anything, but I said, like, I think part of this is also them pushing this whole, like, what's your feelings on Mega and blah blah blah. They're just trying to get James to confirm. They want him to confirm that he's still an ally, even though he's working for Zaslav.
That too, probably.
I think that's part of it. Because we've all said, yes, Gunn is one of them, basically. He's not a conservative, obviously, in any way, shape, or form. But his humor and his style, to me, I just like looking at him going like, dude, you seem like the kind of guy who'd get along pretty well with Trey Parker and Matt Stone. Why the fuck are you even remotely woke? Like, I mean, I may not be able to say they're conservative, whether I know that or not, but I do know they're the last thing they are is fucking woke. Right? So and Gunn just doesn't seem like that kind of guy. His cynical nature, his whole kind of just the way he carries himself and the way he writes things. Because this is definitely written by James Gunn. You can tell that. I mean, that's there's no mistaking that. Anyhow, Jason Webster says Rebel Moon Wheat Wars. Yeah, that's basically what it was. Mercenary X21 says, I hate Joss Whedon and Zack Snyder cut are both are bad. Me too. Mercenary X21 says Mike Cernovich is a rhino, more left than Chairman Mao. Yeah. And then we got another one here. He's just throwing them out there. Just making it rain. It says VTuber Kirishu, I don't know how to say that. Talks about DI rebrand bridge. Kirishu? Shia? I don't know. I'm not familiar with this person. I'll have to look him up. Kirushia, I think is how it's said, maybe. Thank you for the heads up. Then we got Stian Mondstad, who's been a member for 35 months. Then we got Alex Kurtzman is an unemployed little bitch who sends in 14 South African rands. Says, I'm worried about Dune having dropped the subtitles. So yeah, Andre, since we've been talking about so much Superman, we'll get back here real quick to the super chats. Just hang in there, guys. But there was a little bit of Dune news, wasn't there?
There was. I can summarize this news because
yes,
we already have a Dune Part 1, and
yes,
we already have a Dune Part 2. And when I say Dune Part 1 and Dune Part 2, that's not me using any kind of like shorthand or something. These are the official titles for the movie. The official title for Dune Part 1 is Dune Part 1. And the official title for Dune Part 2 is literally Dune Part 2. So now many were really, really excited. What's going to be the title for Dune Part 3? Is it going to be Dune Messiah, which is what it kind of should be, because that's the next book in the series. Of course, the big chapter, next big chapter of the Dune saga begins after that. Dune Messiah is really more of a postscript in a sense, but still, many were hopeful that Dune Part 3 would be titled Dune Messiah. But no, we now have the official title for Dune Part 3. It's Dune Part 3. Thereby ends the news.
Dune Part 3 what?
Was it not
nothing?
Dune Part 3?
Yeah, because I'm with you on this, Andre. I mean, I can hear it through your voice. It's like, clearly this is our signal that this is probably not going to be based as much on Messiah as anybody probably thought. And that's probably why the ending of the second film was as dumb as it was, or however you want to put it.
Pretty much, or as woke as it was, because that's, I mean, it's one of the worst endings I have ever seen. And it's an ending where literally the last 5 minutes ruined an otherwise fantastic movie. Like, I don't remember exactly how long Dune Part 2 was, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, it was 3 hours long, 3 hours sharp before credits. And of those 3 hours, 2 hours and 55 minutes were great. And then the last 5 ruined everything before and destroyed the whole movie. And for me, almost any kind of interest I have in the rest of the saga, because Dune Part 3 is coming, I frankly don't care what it's called, because I'm not interested in seeing it anymore. Because now it's going to have to retroactively redeem Dune Part 2. Now, can it do that? Of course. Is Villeneuve the filmmaker to do that? I don't think so, because he was the one that messed up Part 2. So he has lost a lot of stock in my book.
Is Denis even involved in Part 3? I thought he was stepping back. I could be wrong.
He's still involved, but he shouldn't be. I mean, that needs to be taken over.
Okay.
There you go. So Dune is Dune 3.
Dune is Dune.
And, Chris, unfortunately, also has to bail.
Has to leave us.
Yes, I do.
Yes. Thanks
no,
for being
I don't.
here, Chris.
Did I say something wrong? No, I'm kidding, actually.
Yeah, no, Chris, check out Bleeding Fool. Anything else you want to plug?
No, I have nothing to plug. I'm not a shill. I go see Superman this weekend or F1.
Well, I'll tell you, check out Bleeding Fool, where I'm sure you probably did a story on Neil Cuckman being fired from Last of Us over at HBO, as Callum Lyle brought
There's
up.
been some chatter, bleedingfool.com, at Bleeding Fool, or at Chris Brawley. Thanks again, guys. I'll be traveling this weekend, so I won't see you Friday, but hopefully I'll be back Monday.
All right. Well, glad to hear it. And take care of yourself and have a good weekend.
See you guys.
Take care.
All right. And yeah, Cuckman is gone. I love that, how he says he left. It's like, yeah, you left, all right. Have you heard anything, Paulie, from your side of the pond there? Did he actually leave, or did he get fucking shit canned? I think he got shit canned.
I haven't asked around. I haven't heard.
I mean, when you get rid of the creator, I mean, that's
That's a showrunner. Yeah, that's HBO taking over. That's Zaslav taking over.
Yeah,
because they've invested so much money into that brand. I mean, it's basically their brand now, as I had said before.
Yeah, they fucked
up. Like, you know what? That guy ruined it within one season. So
actually, one episode, really, and we all knew it. We all warned them. Everybody warned them what was going to happen.
Yeah,
and exactly what everybody said was going to happen happened. The whole audience just checked the fuck out, because most of the people that knew it was going to happen, they were just sticking around to see how it was going to happen. And the other folks who were completely unaware of it are like, "What the fuck?" Anyhow, this almost landed harder than the Walking Dead business. Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah, but let's move on from that.
Let's absolutely, because we got a 50 smackaroo super chat here from the All-American Superman. So say what you want about James Gunn, my wallet will promptly remain closed. It's not just a marketing campaign that turned me off. Too many franchises have been turned into political podiums. Also, the word trauma has lost all meaning. Well, I can tell you this much, All-American Superman, that's your choice. And we thank you for the support.
Yeah,
I will say I didn't feel like the movie was very political, though, to be honest with you. If you haven't checked out our recent videos on the matter, you should do yourself that favor. And I think you'll see it in a little bit different light. But I'm not saying that you'll change your mind.
Exactly. And if you still don't want to see it after seeing our videos, then more power to you.
Yeah, and thank you for the $50. I mean, that's invested here in the channel. And you're not wrong. So many franchises have gone just so south. But
absolutely.
That being said, I think that's another reason why this is a breath of fresh air. It's just so different. But I hear you, All American.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, I didn't feel any overt politics in the film at all. Dr. Fauci's Pardon Prison Butt says Nerdrotic, Jeremy Criscore, Angry Badger, and Ryan all disliked it, like films saying MOS was a better film. And for D-Day to Cobra, that's a lot. Yeah. Well, I don't think I don't know, did D-Day actually say that Man of Steel was a better film? I know he didn't like this one so much, but yeah, I have to see that. But yeah, I saw those guys last night talking about it. And I'm not surprised Ryan didn't like it. Not in the least, but well, hello. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised Chris didn't like it though. I thought he might. Marksman 117B says script. Thanks for the. Oh, sorry, we didn't get this. But why are we still here? Script. Thanks for the Warner Brothers stock advice. Got in under 9. Well, lucky you. I wanted to get in on that, but I didn't have the money. Jason Webster says a great film score.
But we don't give financial advice.
We don't give financial advice. That's true. Is one where you listen and automatically visualize where is being used in the film, even without having seen the film. Yeah, and I thought this was a pretty good score. I liked this a lot. Jason Webster says, like Naoki Sato's score for Godzilla -1 and scores by John Williams. You know what's even great, though, about this is it's not as reliant on the Superman John Williams theme as you'd think. It's there. It's there enough. It's there when it needs to be, but it's not overused. And the other parts of the score actually stood out too to me, where, like I said, this is one of the better scores I've heard in a while. And it's not just because it has the Superman John Williamisms in it, because they're used sparingly throughout the film. Shanatsky says it has been a member for 36 months. Thank you. Didn't say anything. We got All American Superman sitting in another 10, part 1 of 2. Head to the 117 mark of It's Our Fight Now by Steve Jablowski. That part of the score from Transformers Dark of the Moon contains the best Superman theme ever made. I'd have to go to that thing here. It's Our Fight Now by Steve Jablowski. Of course, we'll get a claim if we play it on the stream, just so you know.
So we can't do that.
Yeah, so I'll have to check that out, and I might agree with you. I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. That was one of the ones I didn't hate so much of the Transformer ones. Shanatsky says Warner Marketing needs to get Are you kidding? Shanatsky, have you seen their video? This is I'm almost convinced, because I pretty much was told this, that their marketing department is the one who handles like a lot of their video stuff too. Have you seen that shit? That tells you everything you need to know about these guys. They are so fucking far from the fucking pulse of society when it comes to trying to sell shit. And then part 2 of the other one before, it's definitely not a Frankenstein and John Williams score theme, unlike Gunverse Superman's theme song. Well, in this case, I get where you're coming from. And they could have come up with something original, and they probably could have, and it would have been fine. But I liked that John Williams theme is here. And the way they used it, I thought was fine. But I get where you're coming from, buddy, and thanks for the support. Jesus Davila gifted a membership. Hopefully whoever got that is appreciative of it. Thank you so much, Jesus. Then Jason Webster says, question, I'm sorry we didn't get this before when Script Doctor was here. Which film was released this year that makes you believe that film has the best script or your favorite of 2025? Well, I'll try to get an answer from him before the end of the show here if I can. I'll send this off to him. And while I'm doing that, Andre, you want to read this?
Absolutely. GRN Raptor says for $2, oh hell no, I ain't diving into that shite. Don't know quite what he's referring to, but
I think he means Jurassic World, maybe.
Your thing, you don't have to. That's the beauty with that.
Dino Dive.
Yeah, because he's a Green Raptor. Yeah. Well, your cousins are in there for like a split second. Barely, but they're there. But anyway, I think that's what he means. Clarify if that's not what you mean. And then we got Pilgrim Media, who says, can we have mutant alien cross dinos? Well, it's kind of what these basically are at this fucking point. I mean, that's kind of what it felt like. Didn't that feel like to you? Yeah, very Frankenstein-y.
Yeah.
It's a Frankensteinian abomination, to quote a good man. Jason Webster says, coming soon. Congo 2, ape shit in Africa. This almost felt more like a Congo movie than the Jurassic World one did, yeah. Dark King says, true test of Superman. How many Pedros were in it? None. Nada. Zip. Zilch. Not a single Pedro Pascal was in this film. They need to put that now at the beginning of the films. No Pedro Pascals were used in the making of this film.
I mean, don't give them ideas, guys. What the heck?
Then Green Raptor says he meant Kirsch. Oh, Kirsch. Okay, Sassy Fox Lady VTuber is based. Okay, I know Kirsch. Okay. All right.
James Gunn. Why isn't Pedro Pascal in this movie? The gays love him. Why isn't he in this movie?
The gay community wants to know why Pedro Pascal is not the gayest gay in this movie. It's about gay people.
Listen, the gays want to know who has hairier balls, Pedro Pascal or your brother.
I don't want to answer that. This is a movie for everybody.
Right. Yeah, whoa. Even that's the wrong answer.
Mercenary X21 says in 5. It says proper spelling Kirsch. Yes. Yeah, now I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry about that. She's on Side Scrollers, YouTube, and Twitch, and has been talking about the DEI people who are trying to escape consequence. Yes, yeah, we've broached the bridge stuff, and we know it's still there. And Andre, I mean, it's pretty much at a point where it's not being snuffed out, but it's being
it's slowly being replaced by other things.
But they don't have the power and sway they used to, basically, right? Like, I mean, that's kind of my understanding.
No, because here's the thing, that one bill of goods was sold, and now it's been a decade of that bill of goods being tried out, and the results are not as advised, quite the contrary. Any company that ends up doing DEI, well, let's just say that it didn't do for their bottom line what was promised would happen. So the only ones who keep doing it are massive corporations where the revenues are so assured that they can afford the losses associated with it. And everyone who doesn't have that will gradually stop doing this if they haven't already. And you see, like, smaller companies absolutely are stopping it because it's killing their companies. And that's pretty much what there is to say about it. But let's move on here, so everyone can check that out for themselves.
Yeah, indeed. And then we got Go141 who says low effort donation. Yay! No, it's a donation just the same. It's 20 Mexican dollars. That's something, or pesos or whatever it was. But thank you. JPS says, is this the gayest of all gay super chats of all? Yes, JPS, I think it's pretty gay. No, thank you so much, JPS, for that. Let me double check the Rumble side, because I think we are caught up over there. And yeah, anything else I think we're going to talk about today will probably just get pushed to Friday, because we went way over time. But it was a lot to talk about with Superman, and I didn't mean to dominate the whole thing, but everybody had questions, and I had answers. So
you had seen it.
Yeah, and hopefully by Friday, more people have seen it, and we may get a little bit more spoilery then. So stay tuned for that. Anything else, Andre, before we go?
I'm just really annoyed at Warner Brothers Norway for not facilitating me seeing it already. Yeah, beyond that, no, it's time to head on over to Latino Slant, which this stream will redirect towards. Is there anything else you've got going on that you want to plug?
I can barely hear you because you're roboting, but Mercenary sent in another super chat. Says these people want to keep going with DEI in spite of laws against it. Some of these people want to go full insurrectionist with it. Well, that's kind of what they did. And luckily, there's probably people in place now that see it coming, and that's why they're changing everything and trying to stay embedded. But I don't think they'll be able to for so long, especially with the law aspect of it, because everybody's being, either sued or facing some kind of scrutiny or investigation because of these laws and stuff, or because of these practices that there are laws against, I meant to say. So, yeah.
Yeah. Or they already read the tea leaves and kind of course correcting, even midstream. I mean, look at the way Gunn was handling the press.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because if they were still in the throes of it, you best believe this would have been like you know, screw Trump. Look what he's doing to the, you know, the immigrants. All like everyone. I'm just saying, you weren't hearing that except for the brother.
Well, just think back to the promotion for Terminator and Dark Fate.
Well,
that was all about Latinos and immigration and stuff.
Yeah, it was. But even what his brother said, it has very little to nothing to do with the movie at all, actually. Like, it's like, what are you even saying that for? Because if I was James, I'd be the same way. I'd be like, why are you even fucking pushing that shit? Because that's not what this is even about. But with that, it is time for, as Andre says,
some koalas in the rain.
So thank you, everybody. Thank you, all the mods. Take care of yourself and each other, and we will see you very, very soon.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain. No fucks given. Koalas in the rain.